assume anything of what we're going to hear, but the talk is that they're going to discuss a Harvard study that shows a possible link between acetaminophen use or Tylenol
Right.
during pregnancy use. It may increase a child's autism risk.
RFK Jr. is supposed to be there and others, and we will we'll see when that starts and we'll take it. But what I was going to say, if I didn't complete my thought, is sometimes what happens in these is the beginning is rather, perfunctory, if you will, and then it gets interesting with the Q&A. So we'll have to call some audibles. But here's the big story breaking right now in the last 20 minutes. Kind of like it broke last week, right at the end of the show. Jimmy Kimmel is coming back. Now, I said this at the time, I think, Fred, last week, that my predictions are always wrong. I did not sense that there would be a return for Jimmy Kimmel. I thought that they would use this as an excuse to say, he's up for a contract and he doesn't want to apologize, blah, blah, blah. But here's the story. So last Wednesday, this is the statement from ABC. Last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. It is a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. So that's really all that is coming out. We know he's going to have a show tomorrow night. We don't know what that show will entail. I have a hard time believing. Here's what I know, Fred. Here's the one thing that I know. He's going to cry. Okay. I know he's going to cry. So that I can say, I can lock that one down in Vegas at even money. Now, I have a hard time believing he's going to apologize, right? There's no way.
Will it be one of those, I'm sorry if you, took what I said?
Well, the thing about it is, and, I tried to say this last week, and I guess I can start getting into some of my differences of opinion with certainly some people on this. But if you really break down what he said, it's not nearly as egregious as 90% of the other stuff that was said out there by people like Jasmine Crockett and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, members of Congress.
AOC.
And, the list goes on and on and on. But, to kind of go back to the ABC news release, it was ill-timed, and Jimmy feels like he can just go out there and rip half the country. That's the thing. He was trying to make the case, and this is what pissed so many people off. And it did happen Monday and not Tuesday. I think there's a little bit of importance there in the timeline. And the reason is, and I'm not trying to defend Kimmel, but the reason is Tuesday was the day that we had Spencer Cox, the governor, and, the law enforcement officials had the news conference where they read the text message exchanges. So he tapes Monday night at 6:00 Central. It's 4 p.m. and he makes that crack at the beginning of the show. It was pretty clear, if you paid attention, that this was not someone who was influenced by the left, but they kept, or by the right, but they kept going, on that tangent. It had, in fact, there's more of that today. But that's kind of the point, because he says that. And when he says that, let's face it, Fred, that didn't, really take off as a firestorm necessarily until later in the day. And by that time, later in the day, and they even admitted this in the Hollywood Reporter when they were doing some of the stuff last week and reporting on this, that's when, you have Brendan Carr go on the podcast and make the allegations. Now, I went into this weekend, and there are a lot of times where I'll have opinions, and Fred, you and I talk these things out, and I say to myself, wow, I am like the outlier on this stuff. A lot of times it used to happen with movies and entertainment. Like I never want to know exactly. When I did this as reviews before I gave it up, I didn't want to know other people's opinions. Like even when Paul would come on the show, I always liked it when he had, spontaneity. And if we didn't like something, then it would be kind of like, wow, I'm like, everybody else seems to like it. I'm the outlier. On this one, I felt like I was the outlier. But when I drove home on Friday night, I was very, very happy to hear that Ted Cruz was on my side, because I hate the inconsistency and the hypocrisy of people on the right now. And I don't understand why only Ted Cruz and a few others and me are making the case that what the FCC and Brendan Carr did last week was awful. It was horrible. The connection to this story. Now, did it have anything to do in the end with ABC's decision? I don't know. Maybe it didn't. That's the frustrating thing, because I think something might have happened here because the affiliates weren't happy without Brendan Carr getting involved. But what it does, and you're going to hear Senator Cruz, make the case better than I can. You have a group of people out there on the left that keep calling us deplorables, going back to Hillary Clinton, Nazis, authoritarians. When you have the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, making a threat like that, I mean, you'll hear Ted Cruz here. He likens it to, a mob boss or something along those lines.
Will be fired. I think, you could certainly see a path.
Hang on a second. That's the longer cut here. So here's Ted Cruz on Friday. He's on a podcast, right, Ethan? Do you know whose podcast it is? Doesn't really matter.
Kim will be fired. I think, you could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. And again, the FCC is going to have remedies that we could look at. And again, we may ultimately be called to be a judge on that.
No.
That's what I said last week. I said it repeatedly. I said, no. I said that on Twitter. No, this is not the way you go about doing stuff like this. It is not.
Look, I like Brendan Carr. He's a good guy. He's the chairman of the FCC. I work closely with him. But what he said there is dangerous as hell.
And I don't understand why more people on the right don't get that it's dangerous as hell. I really don't. I'm confused by this one because there needs to be consistency. And, you can rip Jimmy Kimmel and say everything you want to, but you can also say, wait a second here, the government is overstepping its bounds significantly.
So the Federal Communication Commission is in charge of granting broadcast licenses. So ABC, NBC, CBS, they have licenses from the FCC. It is true that under statute, they're required to be in the public interest.
Yep.
What he is saying is Jimmy Kimmel was lying. That's true. He was lying. And his lying to the American people is not in the public interest. And so he threatens explicitly, we're going to cancel ABC's license. We're going to take him off the air. So ABC cannot broadcast anymore.
So that's the threat that Brendan Carr is making. And by the way, not unlike Senator Cruz, I'm a fan of Brendan Carr. Brendan Carr has been very vocal out there. Before he was the commissioner of the FCC, he was a member of the board. And he's been the only person out there vocally, really pointing out some of the wokeness, some of the nonsense that's going on behind the scenes. In this case, I just think, and I agree with Senator Cruz, he took a step too far.
And I got to say, he threatens it. He says, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way.
Yeah.
And I got to say, that's right out of Goodfellas. That's right out of a mafioso coming into a bar going, nice bar you have here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
We have all this momentum on the culture wars, a lot of things going our way. The economy is looking pretty good right now. President Trump is getting things done. You have the other side looking foolish by calling us Nazis and authoritarians and all this nonsense. And then this happens, and some people on the right play right into it. It does not look good for conservatives. Senator Ted Cruz agrees.
I understand. Jimmy Kimmel has mocked me so many times I cannot count. The corporate media, they are dishonest. They are liars. I hate what Jimmy Kimmel said. I am thrilled that he was fired. But let me tell you, if the government gets in the business of saying,
we can't
like
say
what you, the media, have said, we're going to ban you from the airwaves if you don't say what we like, that will end up bad for conservatives.
The people who should know this most would be the media people, the people that have the microphones right now, the Fox folks and others. They should be screaming this from the rooftop that they're on the wrong side of this right now because Ted Cruz is right.
It reminds me of, you and I are both fans of The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
J.R.R. Tolkien. It reminds me of like the Ring of Power. And it is so attractive. It's sort of like conservatives are saying, wait, if we have government, we have power.
Yeah.
We can ban the media. Let me tell you what will happen. Going down this road, there will come a time when a Democrat wins again, wins the White House.
They will get rid of
next
every
Democrat
talk show host in
FCC,
America that's a conservative. They'll get rid of every podcast. They'll get rid of everybody
they will
on YouTube.
silence us. They will use this power, and they will use it ruthlessly.
I don't think every talk show host will be silenced, but I do think there's risk. And then if we criticize them, well, wait a second, you can't do that. Well, hold on a second. Sure we can. Because let's go back to, August of 2025, when you guys were pulling people off or suggesting that people get pulled off the airwaves because of things they said that might be offensive. Wrong way to go. I don't like it. I hope we get off that path. It is, it's painful to me that more people have not taken this stand. I appreciate that Senator Cruz has.
And that Ted Cruz podcast is with Ben Ferguson. So that's the other voice.
Well, good. I'm glad
heard
that
in the background.
Ben Ferguson is a really good conservative voice. So hopefully he agrees with that as well. So as is often the case, Fred, with these events that were supposed to start at a certain time, there's an autism related news conference that's supposed to take place here. It was supposed to start at 3:00. They are behind. We're going to bring at least part of that to you live. We have Peder Zane coming up from Real Clear Politics in just a few minutes. Congressman Bob Onder later in the hour. I love Cassie Smedile. I saw her on Fox earlier today, former RNC spokesperson. She will weigh in on the politics of the day. We got Cusumano. Did you watch the Tiger game on Saturday?
I did.
Good win. I missed the first half because I was at my daughter's soccer game. I managed to finagle my way out of the trip to Culver's and get home and watch the second half, which was awesome. The Packers game yesterday, not so awesome. The Chiefs get a win. Thank goodness. It didn't look like that was, locked in for much of the game last night, but we'll talk some football. And I guess we have to talk about baseball. It might've been Arnaldo's last time we see him at Busch Stadium in a Cardinals uniform. John Mozeliak was given a farewell yesterday. So a lot of stuff to talk to you with Frank. And then Chris Clem in the 5:00 hour on some immigration issues.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, we've got delays, and that's on 64 westbound. You're solid from Boone's Crossing to the Missouri River with a crash in the center lane, and then 70 eastbound, really heavy past Kings Highway to Cary Avenue with a crash in the 2 left lanes, and southbound 270 starting to slow a bit between Olive and about 44. This report is sponsored by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Barron Mirror Glass and Door simply comes to mirror glass and shower doors. You can't find better quality, prices, or service than at Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the basics all the way up to the elite. Barron Mirror Glass and Door, they can't be beat. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Yeah, Sue's off for a few more days. She'll be back on Wednesday. Again, this news conference that was supposed to start at the top of the hour has been delayed. We're going to bring part of it to you, though, when it starts.
Are you 55 or older and have questions or concerns regarding your retirement plan? Do you wonder how rising taxes will impact your cash flow? I'm Matthew Allgaier of Fira Capital Management, and I can help you answer these questions and more. Register for our upcoming dinner at Chris's Steakhouse, Tuesday, September 23rd or Thursday, September 25th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. by calling 314-269-0954. This event will cover income and investment planning and tax-efficient strategies. Seating is limited, so call now at 314-269-0954 to register. FIRA is registered as an investment advisor with the SEC and only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. This is a paid advertisement to KMOX News Radio 1120 by Pine Ridge.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
Celebrate September with Zero Res and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Book online at ZeroResSTL.com. Take advantage of these huge savings. Spell it forward or backwards, it spells the same. Zero Res.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, burning, tingling, pain, and loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we have amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands or balance issues, call us at Comprehensive Integrated Health today for a nerve damage screening. The screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Call 636-538-5188. That's 636-538-5188 for your free nerve damage screening. 636-538-5188.
Any Money Fry here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They are the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, one of the things that pisses me off about the return of Jimmy Kimmel, that was what opened the show. In case you haven't heard, they're bringing it back tomorrow night. I guarantee he'll have the biggest ratings he's had, like maybe ever, because everyone's going to want to know what he's going to say. Will he, double down at all? Will he make it worse, or will he? I told you, the only thing I know that will happen 100% is he'll cry. Jimmy will weep openly on the set tomorrow night. So we got that at least to look forward to. We have with us this afternoon back on the show, Peder Zane, editor at Real Clear Investigations. He writes for Real Clear Politics. Peter, how are you? Welcome back.
I'm doing well. That's pretty funny. He probably will cry.
No, definitely cry. I want to talk to you about that and some of the things related to what happened with Charlie Kirk, but we're waiting on a news conference right now that we may have to cut out of even this interview on autism, and RFK Jr. is involved, perhaps some links to acetaminophen that they're going to report on. But you were telling Fred that you guys were way ahead of this even years ago, reporting on it at Real Clear Investigations.
In fact, in 2018, Dr. William Parker, who had been at Duke at the time, wrote a piece for us about his research, which had linked acetaminophen and autism. And, we do journalism, so we were presenting what he had found. I'm not a medical expert, but it was very intriguing, and we have that piece up right now. And it turns out that Parker, who wrote that piece for us years ago, has been in contact with Kennedy and is one of the people who was behind this announcement today.
Yeah, very interesting.
I think that his yes.
So, as I mentioned,
go to Real Clear Investigations and you can read the piece.
Yeah, I'd like to check that out, especially in the aftermath of what we hear here this afternoon. All right, so the breaking news is that Jimmy Kimmel is coming back. You wrote about, where we are in this culture right now. It's really been a fascinating couple of weeks for me. I've admitted several times I underestimated the impact that Charlie Kirk had on younger conservatives in particular. But then what's the country going to do here? We know that last week got really hot because of Jimmy Kimmel. When you wrote about this, you said, look, the evidence following Kirk's murder suggests we're more likely to embrace conflict and not, simmer down and turn the temperature down. And I feel like that's where we're heading. We always talk about turning the temperature down and embracing, civil discourse. But Peter, that never seems to happen.
No, I mean, I think you've had me on, thank you very much, several times in the last month or so. And my columns have basically been wrestling with this question of what is the role of principle? And if we embrace principle, are we engaging politically in a form of unilateral disarmament? Because the left has no conscience about mistruths, misinformation, disinformation. They are the exemplars of cancel culture. Now that the shoe is on the other foot, they all of a sudden are pretending that they're for free speech when we know they aren't. They are pretending that they're for, good information. When we saw with Jimmy Kimmel, I mean, what he said was just a flat out propagandistic lie.
Which he's known for. He's got a pattern for that, right? Yeah.
So what do we on the other side, if we can say that we are, do we live up to our higher principles and say, you know what, I'm not going to cancel you. I'm not going to try to clamp down on free speech, which is different from, calling out Jimmy Kimmel for telling a lie is different from he should be fired and shut up.
Yeah, well, and I think where we stumbled on that particular point, and I'm guessing you and I might agree on this because we're talking about being principled, but I cannot stand, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of people out there on my side except for Ted Cruz, cannot stand the Brendan Carr FCC aspect of this. I hate it. It plays into the left's narrative about being authoritarian. So I wish that part had never happened, and I wish there were more conservatives criticizing that aspect of the story. I'm pretty sure that Charlie Kirk would have not been comfortable with that.
100%. But let's also just take a step back and remember that the people who have tried to put the Jimmy Kimmel suspension at the feet of Brendan Carr which they have.
Well, there's more to the story. There's no doubt. Yes. And that organically, I wish that's why I wish even more that he was out of it, because organically the affiliates were not happy. There was pressure being put on ABC before that even happened.
So, but what does CNN tell you? They tell you, and the New York Times, this is the sole reason that action was taken against Jimmy Kimmel. But by the way, we don't know the motive of the guy who shot Charlie Kirk.
Right, yeah.
So, when you were faced with this, head exploding nonsense from these people, it is very hard to be your best self. But and again, if we were to just listen to the better angels of our nature, that will in no way prevent the Democrats from doing exactly what they had done if and when they gain power again. So while I'm, for instance, very glad that the Republicans have not gotten rid of the filibuster and tried to pack the court and whatever, I have no doubt that when the Democrats take the White House again,
they'll do it.
They're going to try to do this.
Yes, exactly.
So, are you then a sucker for, being a principled person? I mean, I think that is really what's a very difficult idea to wrestle with.
It is. And this goes on to what just happened in Missouri a couple of weeks ago, because, and you and I may have discussed this, but along with Texas and California, and this is one of those stories that's gone way into the distance, and we were talking about it a lot 2 weeks ago, is that we have just drawn some new maps here in Missouri. Legislature went in special session. The governor got a call from the president. They're trying to pick up one additional seat. Now, in their infinite wisdom, the Republicans seemingly have screwed this up, and they've put one precinct in two different districts over in Kansas City. So someone's going to have to fix something. The court's not going to go for that. But, along those lines, this is where I even struggle on that particular instance, because I know, I can look over the river and I can see the gerrymandering in Illinois. I know that they're going to try to make Puerto Rico a state and District of Columbia a state. They're going to try to make 13 members of the Supreme Court. So to your point, you don't want to be that sucker, right?
Right. Exactly. And, one thing just on those issues is I think that they should try to pass a law that says we will not get rid of the filibuster and we won't pack. I don't know what else to do to put some protection in so that it's just not a procedural vote, so that they don't add Washington, D.C. as a state in a 51 vote, bill, reconciliation bill, which they can do. But that's, somebody posted a Kevin Williamson piece from the Bulwark today that was going after a bunch of Republicans for whatever. And I said, the thing this guy's missing is Trump is tit for tat. He is responding. Everything wrong that he's doing in some people's eyes is merely a reflection of what they did to him. And I don't applaud it, but he didn't start this. And I don't know why people should expect someone to just stand back when someone's going to do it to them again.
No, and that's a good
even
point.
Though it's not right.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, you lost me at the Bulwark. Good Lord.
I know.
I mean, that's one of my mentors over there that started all that nonsense, and Charlie Sykes, who used to be a talk show host in Milwaukee. Man, those guys, those are the never Trumpers over there, the hardcore never Trumpers.
And one of the things that I was trying to point out in my column, because I tried to trace how did we get to this position, and a lot of the, basically with the fall of communism in the early 1990s, all of these Marxists at these universities had their ideology discredited. So what they set out to do, according to this fantastic book, Cynical Theories, is problematize every other ideology. So they spent all of their time finding the speck in their brother's eye. And you can, if you look at the nuclear family, you look at capitalism, you look at any human institution, it's flawed. But what they've done is religion. So they've so undermined people's belief in anything. That's what, the 1619 Project. Oh, we're a slaveocracy. They have spent the last 30 years convincing us that everything that our society is rested on is garbage. And one of the things that that's done is it's not only polluted our children who go to universities, sent the left way off the rails, but the right has been affected by that as well. Because the basic idea, there is no truth, there's only result. Politics is about power, and whatever you need to do to achieve power is okay, because you're making up everything as you go along. It is a very dangerous idea, which I think has been embraced by way too many people. And I think that's what allows the hypocrisy on the right, for instance, to embrace cancel culture, when the right has always been about, not the right, but, conservatives, free speech. I mean, that's...
Things get flipped on their heads quite a bit. That book, by the way, Cynical Theories that you mentioned, is that a newer book or is that older?
That's from a couple of years ago by James Lindsay and Helen Pluckrose. And again, it's one of these things, like just how you were talking about how gerrymandering was all we were talking about a month ago. I mean, that book was so hot several years ago for about a month. And then it just
That's what happens. That's what happens, unfortunately.
It's like the baseball season. We hear all about it.
Well, and I said this too, and this is kind of sad, but let's face it, 2 weeks ago today and tomorrow, all right, Monday and Tuesday, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Irina Zaritska almost nonstop, wondering why, and then when this happened in Utah, we haven't heard her name at all. And it's just kind of the nature of the news cycle, unfortunately. Hey, Peter, great to have you on this Monday. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
We have not had the, again, they're a half hour late. This is not unusual for a news conference to be announced for a certain time and for there to be a delay. We're going to take some of that, though, on autism when it does occur here this afternoon. We have I just promoted him, Congressman Bob Onder, coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
And 64 westbound, slow Kings Highway to Big Bend, Lindbergh to 270. Then you're solid from Chesterfield to past Spirit of St. Louis Boulevard with a crash in the center lane. It's really heavy. Eastbound side of 70 is pretty heavy too. And making your way into downtown before Kings Highway to Cary Avenue with a crash with only the right lane left open. 170 southbound slow before Page to Forest Park Parkway, and 270 southbound from Page to 64. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Enjoy your land the way you've always dreamed of. Learn more at MissouriBrushControl.com. Missouri Brush Control is helping landowners reclaim their property, manage vegetation, and clear land for better views. Enjoy your land the way you've always dreamed of. Missouri Brush Control, making acreage great again. Visit MissouriBrushControl.com.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURY, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardy contractor and Pella Window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Bold takes, real talk, no apologies. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
still waiting on this news conference with President Trump and RFK Jr. on the topic of autism that was supposed to start at 3 o'clock this afternoon. It is delayed. That is very, very typical when it comes to events in Washington. We'll have Ethan handling Sue's news in the next hour. Sue Thomas is off for a couple more days. She's going to be back on Wednesday. Cassie Smedile coming up at 4:32 this afternoon. Cassie used to be a spokesperson for the RNC, and she does great work. I always love having her as a guest. She was on Fox earlier today. And then, one of the things, we'll talk about this with Frank Cusumano, just the crowds at Busch Stadium, which have been significantly less than the past few years, certainly the past few decades, in less than 2 million fans compared to 3 million fans. Joe Arnold, who's a good friend, Joe's the guy who brought Jennings and I together because they used to work together in Louisville. And Joe is a longtime Louisville broadcaster who is a big Cardinals guy. We're going to talk with him, and Ethan will talk about some of the things that the Cardinals might have to do to bring the fans back at 5:32. Congressman Bob Onder is with us this afternoon. Hello, Bob. How are you doing?
Hey, Mark, it's great to be back.
I think you know that we may have to go to this news conference if they ever get started here. They're right. What do you know? You know anything about what they're going to? Obviously, you're a physician. You might have some thoughts on this, but it looks like they're going to make some connections with acetaminophen to autism. Do you know anything?
Yeah. No, I don't know much about what might become of it. I knew there was a meeting today about this acetaminophen, Tylenol, autism question, and obviously the discussion of whether the vaccine schedule might have some connection to autism is ongoing. So yeah, I don't know, but I had no idea that the president was going to be speaking on the issue.
Yeah, well, we'll keep you posted. We'll have to cut out. They're running way late, which is, again, as you know, that's not unusual. What was your reaction to what we saw yesterday? Almost 100,000 people outside of the stadium in Arizona for Charlie Kirk. I mean, that was an incredible sight, wasn't it?
Yeah, I read somewhere 200,000, which actually made it the second largest funeral in modern history, or celebration, if you will, in modern history after the death of MLK. But yeah, it was a truly moving event. We really saw just some incredible tributes to Charlie Kirk. Of course, Rob McCoy, Charlie's pastor, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance both gave excellent tributes. But of course, most moving of all by far was Erica Kirk and her forgiveness of the killer of her husband. I mean, just an incredible tribute to the great man who Charlie Kirk was.
So yeah, and there was you guys did a tribute. By the way, you got a little background noise there, and you're on your phone line. But you had there was a moment in the House last week where there was an acknowledgement about Charlie Kirk, and a lot of Democrats voted for it, but a lot did not, including Jasmine Crockett, one of our own from here in St. Louis, who is a congresswoman from Houston.
Is when I saw the no votes, there were only 2 Caucasians. For the most part, the only people that voted no were people of color, because the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk continuously put out there was rhetoric that specifically targeted people of color. And so it is unfortunate that even our colleagues could not see how harmful his rhetoric was.
Bob, I would wager that if we put some audio together and some video of what Charlie really said and presented it to members of Congress like Jasmine Crockett and got their reaction, I think they'd probably be rather surprised that the allegations they're making are not accurate, but they won't do that, of course.
Yeah, she just made that up. Well, 118 Democrats refused to vote for the resolution honoring Charlie Kirk. Some of those were no votes. Some of those were present votes. And no, they weren't all people of color. The Democrats really have a problem with this. When your only message for your political rivals is you don't agree with me, you're racist. And in this case, you don't agree with me, you're racist, and you got what was coming to you. You've got a problem as a party. People are not receptive to that message. Americans are fair-minded. They care about the truth more than rhetoric and nonsense, and they do not want to hear people demonized, and they don't favor political violence. I'm not so sure that's true of Ms. Crockett.
I want to make sure we get a couple more things in here in case we got to cut out. But tell me about the Chloe Cole Act, which you've introduced, and you got a co-sponsor with Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn in the Senate.
Yeah, the Chloe Cole Act was filed last week. I am the House sponsor, and Senator Marsha Blackburn is the Senate sponsor. And it would address this issue of transgender mutilation of our children. President Trump signed an executive order in January opposing this abuse, this systematic medical malpractice. And among other things, he called that the Department of Justice draft a bill and transmit that bill to Congress. Well, I'm handling that bill. I introduced it with about 30 co-sponsors, and I've spoken to leadership. They are supportive, and I'm looking forward to moving it forward and protecting our kids, and just as importantly, making sure that those who are harmed by these egregious, barbaric procedures can gain justice and get compensation.
And Chloe, it's named for Chloe because she is a detransitioner, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, Chloe is a detransitioner. She was put on puberty blockers, then wrong sex hormones at age 12, and then had a bilateral mastectomy at age 16. And by 17, she regretted the whole thing. She felt she was never given appropriate informed consent. She feels like her parents were pressured into it. And she is probably the most eloquent voice speaking against this just abusive, exploitive medical malpractice that is pediatric gender.
She does not get enough attention, in my opinion. And then one more thing on the government shutdown possibility, because you guys have passed a continuing resolution. You're a new member of Congress, but you're not always a fan of continuing resolutions. So tell us what happened here, and will the Senate pass something before September 30th, which is the deadline, Bob?
Yeah, there. Of course, the 1974 budget.
Whoops, I think we lost him. He was talking, and then there was no more talking. Every once in a while, I like to see if someone's going to come back, but I don't think we're going to get him back. Let's see. Sometimes it takes just about 30 seconds or so, and then the phone line comes back in. Bob, can you hear me? He cannot.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Okay, we lost you for a good 30 seconds. So on the continuing resolution, go ahead.
Yeah. So really, you're right. CRs aren't the best way to do it. But we are up against a deadline. We did our job in the House. Unfortunately, I think Chuck Schumer wants a shutdown. He's making multiple unrealistic demands. So I think we're headed toward a shutdown next week.
Really? And then how does that work itself out from there?
Yeah, I think the way it works out is that Chuck Schumer will not like the way President Trump handles the shutdown. The executive gets to decide which employees are essential and which are not. I think the American people will see, of course, that business will go on as usual. People will still get Medicare and Social Security and Medicaid benefits. The military will continue to operate. But government employees will be furloughed. Some will be and some won't be. And, Donald Trump will decide who's who. So Chuck Schumer, who one of his demands is that there not be any rescissions, any spending or cutting of waste, fraud, and abuse. He's going to get to see Donald Trump do all the rescissions he wants during the shutdown.
So what I'm hearing is it could maybe potentially last a little while, too.
It could. The last shutdown was 2018, 2019 during the first Trump administration, and that was over border security. The Democrats did not want to, in a $7 trillion
isn't that unbelievable? Really,
a $7 trillion budget, they could not give President Trump $6 billion to build the border wall. So the the Democrats were happy with a shutdown rather than fund border security.
Yeah, and what was more damaging to the country, the shutdown or border security? I think that's an easy answer for Democrats these days. So we'll have to see.
Yes. And, fortunately, in the Working Families Tax Cut Act, formerly Big Beautiful Bill, we provided the resources for border security, and border security will continue during the shutdown. So, the Democrats are the party of big government. I'm not saying I want to shut down. That is not the way we should be doing business in Washington. This is a clean resolution. In other words, it's free of a lot of the good stuff I'd like to see in a budget. It's really it just keeps government open for 7 more weeks.
And then we do it all over again.
Yeah. Yep,
Right,
exactly.
okay, exactly.
Exactly, Mark.
All right, Congressman Bob Onder, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Keep us posted.
Thank you.
All right, we still have, I'm looking at an image of a podium at the White House. Still no announcement on autism. We're going to take some of that news conference live this afternoon when it does kick off.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
So things are slow going. If you're on 70 eastbound from Kings Highway to Cary Avenue, there's a crash with the right lane only open. There was a crash. They just cleared it out of the lane, so all the lanes are open again. But then you're really heavy into downtown now that they let go of that one. 64 westbound from Kings Highway to Big Bend, slow, then Lindbergh to 270. Then you're pretty slow going from through the Chesterfield area to Spirit of St. Louis Boulevard. We had an earlier crash in the center lane. They just cleared that as well, so that's improving. 170 southbound, slow before Page to Forest Park Parkway, and 270 southbound from Page to 64. This report is sponsored by The Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
For years now, I have talked about Michael's Flooring. I want to talk about Michael's Bath here, which is completely different than Michael's Flooring. Completely different. It's Mike Gower and his daughter Melody who run the office. You got Tony and Mark in the field doing your estimates for you. So if you need a walk-in shower, better storage, a modern look, they can make it simple, clean, and budget-friendly. Here's the most important part. These are great folks who've been doing this for a long time. All they do is bathrooms, right? They give you 100% lifetime warranty on all products, all American-made products as well. But they can get you a bid. Of course, you're going to go out there, you're going to seek a couple, right? And they know that. But usually they come in 30 to 50% less than the competition. You have an offer right now. If you mention my name on 97.1 FM Talk or the radio station, you get a free shower door or $500 off your project. You're talking about quality products and installation. They will leave you completely satisfied, and you can do it a lot cheaper. There's no reason not to get Michael's Baths involved if you have a project right now. It's a fantastic company. You're going to experience it your way. They work with customers also who are approved by the VA for a grant that will pay most, if not all, of the price for their bathroom project. So keep that in mind as well. Michael's, 636-775-0800 or michaelsbaths.com.
97.1 FM Talk welcomes Trans-Siberian Orchestra and their monumental tour, The Ghost of Christmas Eve, at the Enterprise Center on December 23rd.
Well, and here we go. As soon as I took a break, here's the president.
Crisis. I want to thank the man who brought this issue to the forefront of American politics along with me. And we actually met in my office, is it like 20 years ago, Bobby? It's probably 20 years ago in New York. I was a developer, as you probably heard, and I always had very strong feelings about autism and how it happened and where it came from. And he and I don't know, the word got out, and I wouldn't say that people were very understanding of where we were, but it's turning out that we understood a lot more than a lot of people who studied it, we think. And I say we think because I don't think they were really letting the public know what they knew. Thanks as well to the director of the National Institute of Health, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, FDA Commissioner, Dr. Marty McCary. These are great people. Administrator of the Centers for Medicine and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz, and Acting Assistant Secretary of HHS, Dr. Dorothy Fink. So thank you all. Thank you, Dorothy, very much. The meteoric rise in autism is among the most alarming public health developments in history. There's never been anything like this. Just a few decades ago, 1 in 10,000 children had autism. So that's not a long time. And I've always heard, they say a few, but I think it's a lot less time than that. It used to be 1 in 20,000, then 1 in 10,000. And I would say that's probably 18 years ago. And now it's 1 in 31, but in some areas it's much worse than that, if you can believe it, 1 in 31. And I gave numbers yesterday. For boys, it's 1 in 12. I was told that's in California where they have for some reason, a more severe problem. But whether it's 1 in 12 or 1 in 31, can you imagine? That's down from 1 in 20,000, then 1 in 10,000. And now we're at the level of 1 in 12 in some cases for boys. 1 in 31 overall. So since 2000, autism rates have surged by much more than 400%. Instead of attacking those who ask questions, everyone should be grateful for those who are trying to get the answers to this complex situation. And the first day all of these great doctors behind me were there, I told them, this is what we have to find out. Because when you go from 20,000 to 10,000, and then you go to 12, there's something artificial. They're taking something. And by the way, I think I can say that there are certain groups of people that don't take vaccines and don't take any pills that have no autism. Does that tell you something? That's currently, is that a correct statement, by the way?
There are some studies that suggest that, yeah, with the Amish, for example.
The Amish, yeah, virtually. I heard none. See, Bobby wants to be very careful with what he says, and he should, but I'm not so careful with what I say. But you have certain groups, the Amish as an example, they have essentially no autism. First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol during pregnancy, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary. That's, for instance, in cases of extremely high fever, that you feel you can't tough it out, you can't do it. I guess there's that. It's a small number of cases, I think. But if you can't tough it out, if you can't do it, that's what you're going to have to do. You'll take a Tylenol, but it'll be very sparingly. It can be something that's very dangerous to the woman's health. In other words, a fever that's very, very dangerous, and ideally a doctor's decision, because I think you shouldn't take it, and you shouldn't take it during the entire pregnancy. They may tell you that toward the end of the pregnancy, you shouldn't take it during the entire, and you shouldn't give the child the Tylenol every time he's born and he goes and has a shot. You shouldn't give a Tylenol to that child. All pregnant women should talk to their doctors for more information about limiting the use of this medication while pregnant. So ideally, you don't take it at all, but if you can't tough it out, or if there's a problem, you're going to end up doing it. The other thing that I can tell you that I'll say that they will maybe say at a little bit later date, but I think when you go for the shot, you do it over a 5-time period. Take it over 5 times or 4 times, but you take it in smaller doses and you spread it out over a period of years. And they pump so much stuff into those beautiful little babies. It's a disgrace. I don't see it. I think it's very bad. They're pumping, it looks like they're pumping into a horse. You have a little fragile child, and you get a vat of 80 different vaccines, I guess, 80 different blends, and they pump it in. So ideally, a woman won't take Tylenol. And on the vaccines, it would be good, instead of one visit where they pump the baby, load it up with stuff, you'll do it over a period of 4 times or 5 times. I've been so into this issue for so many years, just because I couldn't understand how a thing like this could happen. And it's artificially induced. It's not like something that when you go from all of those, healthy babies to a point where I don't even know structurally if a country can afford it. And that's the least of the problems. To have families destroyed over this is just so terrible. I also, and we've already done this, we want no mercury in the vaccine. We want no aluminum in the vaccine. The MMR, I think, should be taken separately. This is based on what I feel, the mumps, measles, and the three should be taken separately. And it seems to be that when you mix them, there could be a problem. So there's no downside in taking them separately. In fact, they think it's better, so let it be separate. The chicken pox is already separate because when that got mixed in, I guess they made it four for a while, it really was bad. So they make chicken pox. Individually, they're okay. When you mix them, something maybe happens. So there's no downside in doing it. It's not like, oh, if you do it, bad things. No, it's only good side. And it may not have that much of an impact, but it may have a big impact. So let those be taken separately. And then hepatitis B is sexually transmitted. There's no reason to give a baby that's almost just born hepatitis B.
All right, so this is a live event at the White House. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is standing right to the side of the president. The news all day long has been that they're going to make a report on the potential link between acetaminophen, the president had a little trouble pronouncing that, Tylenol, and autism. The quote that I extracted here is, taking Tylenol is not good. I'll say it, not good. That's what the president said here a few minutes ago. But, I indicated this earlier. What happens with these is he's going to go on for a little while here. I think there might be some other officials that will take the podium. We're not going to stick with the whole thing. But what I will tell you is if they get to the Q&A, because I can't imagine that people are going to only ask questions about this incident. We opened the show. If you haven't heard this, I'm sure Fox will have it at the start of the hour. Jimmy Kimmel's coming back tomorrow night. The suspension is over. His show is back. I can't imagine someone's not going to ask the president about that. But after Fox News here at the top of the hour, maybe before Ethan's news, we might go back to D.C.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, we got 270 southbound slow spots from Olive down to Gravois. Northbound side from Manheim, make that from Manchester up to Olive, a 70 eastbound. Getting heavy into downtown, 664 westbound slow Kings Highway to Big Bend, Lindbergh to 270, 340 to past the Spirit of St. Louis Boulevard from an earlier crash. And eastbound side of 64 is slow going 170 to Big Bend. This report is sponsored by Lakeside Renovation and Design for over 25 years. Lakeside Renovation and Design has been St. Louis's trusted source for transforming homes inside and out, from windows and siding to kitchens, bathrooms, and outdoor spaces. They deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Trent Erickson, traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
One of the biggest gifts you can give your family is peace of mind. That's why I trust and recommend Civia Law. They've helped so many families, including mine, right here in our community with estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and elder law issues. I've seen how stressful it can be when a loved one passes without a plan. Families are left confused, sometimes tied up in probate court, and it can cost so much in time and money. But with Civia Law, you don't have to worry about that. They'll walk you through everything and even deliver your completed documents in just 2 weeks from your first appointment. And here's something special just for you. Mention the Annie Fry Show, and the first 10 listeners right now will get a free strategy session. That's a $300 value. 833-995-WILL. Just be sure to mention the Annie Fry Show when you call. Civia Law has 7 convenient locations across Illinois and Missouri, including in Edwardsville, Swansea, and Creve Coeur. Secure your legacy and protect the people you love. Call 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL, or visit civialaw.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. 1 discount per household.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. If you're a renter, make sure you're protected. Renter's insurance includes options that cover stolen property, personal injury, and living expenses if your place is damaged. Quote Renter's Insurance at progressive.com.
He's Donald Trump's #1 enemy in Congress, Chicago Senator Dick Durbin. And now Dick Durbin has a new scheme, a government takeover of your credit card. Today, consumers have thousands of choices in credit cards, all with equal, strong security. But Durbin's plan is less competition and less security. And that means more risk for your credit and your identity. Tell Republicans in Congress, stop Dick Durbin's takeover of your credit card before it's too late.
Paid for by Electronic Payments Coalition.
Well, the news conference on autism still going on. We'll break into that if they go to a Q&A. We got Sue's News with Ethan pinch hitting in the next hour.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
A possible link to autism. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. President Trump just announcing his administration's new warning that use of acetaminophen, the main ingredient in Tylenol during pregnancy, could lead to an increased risk of autism. The maker of Tylenol and some medical experts have already pushed back, citing previous studies and safety findings.
Instead of attacking those who ask questions, everyone should be grateful for those who are trying to get the answers to this complex situation.
The FDA plans to notify physicians about the potential risk. The man accused of plotting a second Trump assassination attempt rests his case. Ryan Ruth defending himself at his federal trial in Florida, calling just 3 witnesses, including a firearms expert, testifying about the operability of the gun found in a suspected sniper nest on a Trump golf course where the president was playing.
The court also heard from Atwill Milson, a friend of Ruth's son, Orrin. Milson said the defendant was calm under stress, gave people jobs, and offered everything he had. During cross-examination, Milson said he was unaware of stories that Ruth had run over an employee with his truck. During redirect, Ruth clarified that he, quote, backed out and the worker fell down.
Fox's Jonathan Seri at federal court in Fort Pierce. Ruth suggesting he was only out for attention. Closing arguments expected tomorrow morning. After a week-long suspension, ABC parent company Disney says it's resuming production of Jimmy Kimmel's late night show. In a statement read by Fox's Michelle Polino,
"We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. Disney did not address whether future content from Kimmel will face additional review."
Disney says some of Kimmel's comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive after the death of Charlie Kirk. America is listening to Fox News.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
You hear that? That's Mike sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. That's because Mike was smart this time. He took ZQL Ultra to fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs. So now he wakes up refreshed and ready to conquer Mondays.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
We've had a nice break from the unsettled rainy weather pattern, but the pattern is going to hold into Thursday. Partly cloudy skies. I'll keep a chance of a spot shower. Evening temperatures will be in the 70s, 66 for the low. On Tuesday, partly to mostly cloudy skies, scattered showers and thunderstorms. 80 degrees, scattered showers and thunderstorms Tuesday night and Wednesday. This is the 71 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, you know it's going to be a long news conference when Fox even cuts out, right? The president.
Yeah.
Well, they built this thing up throughout the I'd say throughout the last 24 hours. And, you know, sometimes you got to call it like you see it. And not the president's best moment when he gets up there. He couldn't even pronounce acetaminophen because, look, you see a word like that on the paper and you're not used to it. You're like, oh, But he doesn't really, my sense is that Trump doesn't really prepare for these moments. He just, the staff says, here's what we're going to do. And he doesn't look, when I say he doesn't prepare, he's not looking at the script ahead of time, Fred. I don't think he's pre-reading. My guess would be, well, look, Joe Biden never could even read off the script, so let alone pre-read. But I don't know that the news conference got off to the best start with him describing what they were doing. But there were like 6 different people that were going to speak, right?
It's going to take a while.
Yeah. So we'll go back to the, news conference if we have to. So the big story this afternoon would be, and this is kind of why I want to go back to it if he's got a Q&A, is Jimmy Kimmel's coming back. Are you surprised that Jimmy Kimmel is coming back, Fred?
Oh, I am. I didn't think he was gone forever, but I thought it'd be a longer suspension. And I'm really curious as to how he will handle it when he gets on air.
I am too, because look, the way the whole thing went down, you saw a lot of people that supported Jimmy Kimmel, and some ABC people that said, we're not coming back unless you lift the suspension. I said this earlier too, he's going to have a huge night of ratings tomorrow night, right? Really, there's only a couple of ways to go with this. You can either ignore it completely, kind of make a reference to it and just say, hey, we're not doing politics and move on, or you can address it head on and cry, which is what I'm guessing he's going to do. There's going to be some tears involved in whether or not he'll say anything nice or not. Now, I will say this, and I've said it a couple of times, and I'm not trying to defend Jimmy Kimmel for, spreading completely ridiculous lies last Monday night. I do think that when it comes to the egregious nature of some of the comments that have come in from people like Ilhan Omar or AOC, or, these are members of Congress, that Kimmel's was not amongst the worst, if you will. So it will be interesting. I don't know. I don't know how he's going to handle it, right? And then the bigger question then becomes, well, do they even care about renewing the show because the contract's up anyway? But if he wouldn't have come back on the air, then you give him an opportunity to go do a podcast somewhere or whatever. There was even talk last week that he was going to go on Colbert's show. And my guess is that the ABC exec said, I don't think that's really the way to play this right now, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
All right.
It's going to be fascinating.
It will be. So, and again, he'll get big ratings. So let's talk about Tom Homan for a couple of minutes here, because Tom Homan has been a guest on this show many times over the course of many years. When he went to the administration to be the border czar, we lost him. We lost I think 8 people that were on the show on a regular basis, like Marty McCary and others.
And Andy Puzder, we just found out, is
he's an ambassador
to the EU.
Well, we love Andy. Brussels. But so there's this story. Now, did you heard about this weekend? I just found out about this morning.
I heard about it this morning, a New York Times story.
Okay,
yeah.
So and here's the update, because they've updated it here this afternoon. Tom Homan, and I think, did Carolyn address this?
She did.
Okay. Yeah. So the story, before I get to the explanation here, is that the allegation is that Tom Homan, who's been very outspoken well before he was, put in this position, he was the acting head of ICE for a while. Remember, that's kind of how we identified him. And then he was on Fox all the time. We loved him because he was forcefully going at the Biden administration. But the story today says that Tom Homan, I want to be very cautious with this, because this seems like one of those things that's a little
hard
fishy.
To believe. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Tom Homan is accused of accepting a bag with $50,000 in cash as part of an undercover FBI investigation last September. And this is what the White House, so the New York Times rolls with sources on this today. Carolyn's asked about it at the news conference.
Mr. Homan never took the $50,000 that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight, number one. Number two, this was another example of the weaponization of the Biden Department of Justice against one of President Trump's strongest and most vocal supporters in the midst of a presidential campaign. You had FBI agents going undercover to try and entrap one of the president's top allies and supporters, someone who they knew very well would be taking a government position months later. Mr. Homan did absolutely nothing wrong. And even the president's Department of Justice, even Kash Patel's FBI, looked into this just to make sure. They had a number of different prosecutors and FBI agents who looked into this. They found zero evidence of illegal activity or criminal wrongdoing in the White House, and the president stand by Tom Homan 100% because he did absolutely nothing wrong, and he is a brave public servant who has done a phenomenal job in helping the president shut down the border.
All right, so we've seen a couple things happen here in the last few years. You see people at the FBI go a little rogue on these stories, but here's the allegation. And look, it's a pretty serious allegation. FBI agents working undercover made an audio recording, allegedly, of this meeting in September of last year, a year ago, in which Tom Homan accepted the money in a bag from the fast food chain Cava, according to the New York Times. This was a story that originally came out on Saturday. On the tape, suspicious reporting, of course, he appeared to agree to try to help the agents posing as businessmen get lucrative federal contracts related to border security in a possible second Trump administration. That's according to sources. We've seen sources. I want to be very cautious with this because we see this all the time with sources and we are misled. There's two parts of this, because there's the allegation, and then there's the allegation that the investigation was closed by the Trump administration, which apparently it has. I mean, you heard Carolyn sort of confirm that, right? That Kash Patel and the Justice Department looked at this. Asked by reporters what happened to the money, you heard what Carolyn said. She said he never took the money. She claims that the FBI basically went undercover to entrap one of the president's top allies and supporters, someone who they knew very well would be taking a government position months later. The Times reported on Saturday that senior Justice Department officials, including Emil Bove III, had expressed skepticism about the case as early as February. One person familiar with the case said the evidence gathered had not met all the necessary elements of relevant federal crimes, such as bribery or conspiracy. Another contended that the case was prematurely ended before such evidence could be gathered. Tom Homan, to my knowledge, Fred, has said nothing about this, right?
Yeah, no.
They go into some of this in the Times. They say he opened a consulting business that has worked for companies seeking immigration-related contracts, including those poised to benefit from Mr. Trump's policies. At one point, he was paid $150,000 to lobby in Texas for Fisher Industries, a construction firm that last year secured a $225 million contract with the state to build a section of the border wall. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, he's being a lobbyist. Now, I don't know if he was a registered lobbyist or if there's anything improper or, ethically that went wrong there. But what they say was he was drawn into the FBI case after a target of the investigation suggested in 2023 on his own initiative that a $1 million payment to Mr. Homan could lead to lucrative federal contracts for border security work. But that's a lot different than $50,000, though, $1 million. So there's the allegation. The Times is standing by its reporting. You could hear the administration did not like the reporting. It's interesting that, Tom Homan's a pretty straight shooter.
Yeah.
So you would think that he would want to be out there and defend himself, but I haven't seen him do that yet. I mean, maybe there's some protection here by the administration. That's another one of those things where if the Q&A occurs at the end of this news conference today, and again, Fox has cut away from it anyway because they kind of sensed that it was going to get, pretty long-winded. But I'm guessing he might be asked about that in the news conference today. We'll see. Cassie Smedley's coming up after Ethan's news. He's filling in for Sue at the top of the hour. And we can ask Chris Clem about this as well. Chris Clem, former Yuma Sector Border Patrol Chief, and he'll have some things to say just about the ICE situations and what's happening right now. He testified last week at that hearing in the Senate on lost immigrant children. So he'll have a lot to say after the top of the hour.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
I think things are heavy on 270 southbound Olive to 64 northbound side from Manchester to Olive is heavy. 70 eastbound is slow going into downtown. Westbound side through the airport to about 270. Westbound 64 slow Kings Highway to Big Bend, then through Chesterfield. The eastbound side slows McKnight to Big Bend, and 55 southbound filling in between Broadway and Bates through the work zone. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This report is sponsored by McKelvey Homes.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan of McKelvey Homes. Have you always wished for a brand new home in an established neighborhood? Select one of our move-in ready custom homes throughout St. Louis, or we will build on your lot. Visit McKelveyhomes.com and move up to McKelvey.
we have Ethan filling in for Sue Thomas here in just a couple of minutes doing Ethan's news. And then if we need to go back to the Trump news conference for some Q&A on some other topics, we'll take you back there as well. Home restoration has a lot of choices. The biggest choice is, who do you trust with your most valuable asset? And I have an answer for that. That would be Banner Construction here in St. Louis, because few companies have been able to match the experience, the expertise, the dedication to excellence that they have. So let's say you're someone who has a home, you're staying in that home, you're not going to sell it. You're looking at your house thinking, what can I do to make it look magnificent again? James Hardy Fiber Cement Siding is certainly an option you should look into. And Banner is an elite preferred James Hardy contractor. Maybe you're looking at more energy efficient windows. Well, they're a certified Pella window specialist. These are projects that take months from start to finish. So don't put it off. It's a free in-home design consultation. You have nothing to lose by jumping on right now and at least seeing what Banner can do for you. BannerConstruction.com or call 314-569-1050.
Celebrate September with Zero Res and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Book online at ZeroResSTL.com. Take advantage of these huge savings. Spell it forward or backwards, it spells the same. Zero Res.
Are you 55 or older and have questions or concerns regarding your retirement plan? Do you wonder how rising taxes will impact your cash flow? I'm Matthew Allgaier of Fira Capital Management, and I can help you answer these questions and more. Register for our upcoming dinner at Chris's Steakhouse, Tuesday, September 23rd or Thursday, September 25th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. by calling 314-269-0954. This event will cover income and investment planning and tax-efficient strategies. Seating is limited, so call now at 314-269-0954 to register. FIRA is registered as an investment advisor with the SEC and only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. This is a paid advertisement to KMOX News Radio 1120 by Pine Ridge.
When you get hurt, you don't want to end up on the injured list. You want to get back in the game stronger than ever. At Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, we fight for you, making sure big insurance doesn't throw you a curveball. With over $25 billion recovered, we're the home run hitters you need.
This is way out there and gone.
Morgan & Morgan, for the people. Proud sponsor of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
Your garage door is always there for you, rain or shine. Are you taking your garage door for granted? Is it screeching, whining for attention? Trust Overhead Door Company of St. Louis to keep your garage door reliable. Maybe the old weather stripping needs replaced to keep out the cold and hot air. Call Overhead Door Company of St. Louis, trusted here since 1926. For same-day service, call 314-781-5200 and schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
Every week on the Moth Podcast, we share stories that are funny, strange, heartbreaking, and above all, true.
I myself have been married for 56 years. Unfortunately, to 4 different women.
It turns out the people I was looking for all my life is what you people would call nerds.
Follow and listen to The Moth on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Now back to Mark Reardon, calling out the nonsense, one segment at a time. 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, Cassie Smedile's coming up to talk politics. We love her. She used to be a spokesperson for the RNC. I saw her on Fox earlier today. We got Cusumano coming up later this hour. Chris Clem after the top of the hour. And then Ethan, who's going to do Sue's News here, you're going to come back. And actually, we can all have this conversation. Fred, we're all passionate Cardinals fans, and we love St. Louis. Joe Arnold, longtime Louisville broadcaster, is a very loyal Cardinals fan, but we all have concerns about how you're down 1 million fans from 2023. So things struggling for the Cardinals. Even though, Ethan, did they win that series over the weekend?
They did.
Didn't they?
Yeah, they took 2 out of 3 against the Brew Crew.
I like that. All right, you ready for Sue's News today?
Let's do it.
Here we go.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Well, but not today.
Not today, indeed. Ethan is here. Sorry to disappoint all of you. Sue will be back on Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday.
She'll be back on Wednesday.
Wait, am I wrong, Fred?
No. I think
okay.
Wednesday.
Okay. All right. So you only have to put up with me for a couple more days. Today is National Ice Cream Cone Day.
Hell yeah.
And it's also National White Chocolate Day.
I like
Day
white
of Nationals.
chocolate.
I love the Hershey's cookies and cream.
Yeah. Oh,
so good.
They're really good.
Fred?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Big supporter?
Oh, yeah. I like
good.
white chocolate.
So referring back to National Ice Cream Cone Day, there was a poll taken a while back. Just under 10,000 American adults were asked what they like their ice cream served in. 32% said they want a waffle cone. 16% said a sugar cone. Only 8% prefer cake cones. I've never heard of cake cones. And 33% pass up the cone altogether, and they get a cup. Where you guys fall in this? You guys cone people or no?
It depends, but if I am a cone person, I go the waffle cone. I mean, cake cone, that's just basically the regular ice cream cone, isn't it? Isn't it a cake cone? Or is that
It says
different?
flaky, crispy ones with a flat bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are
That's
just
what they have at Dairy
traditional
Queen,
ones,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You get like even McDonald's would do something along those lines, right? But then you have the sugar, the smaller one would be like the sugar cone, right?
Oh,
Isn't
yeah,
it?
that like
and then you
triangle
have
one,
the waffle cone. I'm a waffle cone guy.
I like when they put the chocolate on the outside of the cone, like near the top with the sprinkles. Those are my favorite kinds of cones.
We'll go out and celebrate tonight, Ethan.
I think
I give you permission.
I'm a
that I
waffle cone guy.
Good lad, Fred. Listen, if you're a fan of Halloween and scary movies, there is a cable and internet comparison site called Cable TV, and they're looking to pay someone to watch, rank, and review horror movies, and they're calling the position a thrill turnship. Huh? Anyone? What they're going to do is they're willing to pay someone $666 plus a $50 Uber Eats gift card and a 1-year subscription to Screambox if you are willing to choose to watch 5 horror movies from their list of the 13 scariest movies of all time. So on the list is Nightmare on Elm Street, Candyman, The Evil Dead, The Exorcist, Get Out, Halloween, Hereditary, It, Martyrs, The Shining, The Strangers, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and The Thing. I think I could easily do this. That seems like an easy $666 to me. Anyone else?
No, not too bad.
I like the amount. Kind of clever.
Yeah, creative, right?
Yeah.
They really.
By the way, I
thought that out.
Totally separate but related, and I took a picture of it, and I never really shared it. But I noticed when I was driving my car, and I was glad I didn't notice the previous number. But when I was driving over the weekend, my car hit 77,000 miles and 77,777. So it was all sevens. Sorry, did I have a hard time getting that out?
77,777
Thank you. Yeah, but I didn't notice it when it hit 66666. I just noticed the 7. But that's kind of a unique thing.
Oh,
I actually was paying such close attention. I'm like, I want to get a picture of this. Maybe I have to pull over, but I did it at a stoplight.
My car hit, I still remember, 111,111 miles on 55, right as I passed Anheuser-Busch.
See, you remember those things, don't you?
I also had a monumental weekend when it comes to this. I surpassed 150,000 miles. My Ford Fusion.
But is that all your miles, or was it used?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
I would say close to over half of that is mine for sure, though.
And it's still running. A Ford Fusion is.
She's still kicking.
Look at that.
She's still kicking. Hopefully, she has a couple more years in her. She's a 2015. Okay, today is the first day of fall. Did you guys know this?
Yes.
Yeah, first day of fall. And but the question, right, that's being asked online is, has it actually been fall for weeks? And there's a story going viral where a guy is claiming that fall started weeks ago, and he said the seasons are all wrong. He's proposing we redate all 4 seasons. Here's the breakdown: spring should start as soon as daylight savings kicks in.
Which makes sense.
Next year, it would be March 8th.
Okay.
That extra sunlight means you've started spring, regardless of how cold it is. And spring ends the first day it's hot. I don't know necessarily what that would mean.
Well,
per
here,
se.
that'd be April.
Or where?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Summer starts around June 1st and stops on August 31st, mostly because the never-ending plague of summer is just irksome. I think we can all agree on this. So he's saying we should shorten it a little bit. Once September hits its fall, even if it's still 95 degrees, if leaves are falling, the NFL is on TV. That's a huge reason. And your kids are back in school. It should be fall. The whole waiting till September 22nd thing he thinks is
Nobody
wrong.
really does it anyway. I mean, we kind of, I mean, we felt it here in late August, and I've seen leaves falling off the tree. So it kind of has felt like fall for several weeks.
And then winter begins. Hear this on Black Friday. It's already bleak outside. Bing Crosby playing on the radio. And you're setting up your Christmas tree.
Okay, who is this guy? Because he's making a lot of sense to me. Because why, winter doesn't start until what? The 21st of December. That's just dumb.
It's pointless. I listen, I am all aboard this.
Me
I
too.
think, executive order time, next time we do that
Yeah,
segment,
yeah.
our own executive orders, we might need to put this into effect, Mark.
I like it.
If you drive a lot, you're probably aware of, at least in your area, where the roads absolutely suck. I know we all are. There's some rougher areas in St. Louis on the Illinois side as well. A website just put out a list of the states with the best and worst road conditions according to the Bureau of Transportation Statistics. The state with the best roads, Indiana. Kind of surprised me. And then Kansas is second, followed by South Dakota, Wyoming, Vermont, Tennessee, Idaho, Georgia, and North Dakota. The state with the worst roads, Rhode Island. Hawaii is second.
There's some irony there.
Did you hear that?
Rhode Island.
Hawaii is second. That kind of surprised me.
Surprises me too.
New Mexico is bad. Connecticut, Mississippi, Washington are all bad. Here's what I'll say. Illinois and Missouri, neither of them were in the bottom 10. So they're somewhere in the middle of the pack. I guess you'll take that. I tend to think that Missouri, at least St. Louis area, has some terrible
It's
road
very
conditions.
local specific though. Like Southern Indiana, I will say I've driven through there quite a bit going to Louisville, and they always seem to have construction, but the roads are pretty nice down there.
So the new iPhone hit stores recently last week, and almost 90% of Americans think that they're overpriced. The cheapest iPhone 17, get this, $800. The Pro Max with 2 terabytes of storage runs you $2,000. $2,000. That was absolutely blew my mind. I just got I think I got the 16 Pro and I traded it in.
Well, that's
so
what you do now.
It was a pretty good deal.
Usually the smart thing to do is go to the previous model, or even the 15, and you're going to get a much better deal, because to me, there doesn't seem to be a lot of big changes on the 17.
No, not that I have seen either, but more than a quarter of Americans said they're still willing to take on debt for a new iPhone.
I will
That is
tell you
crazy
this, though.
to me.
Again, we had Ian Sharon last week. We were talking about the iOS 26 for Apple. They did this big event last Tuesday. So I went home the night we were talking about it. I downloaded the new iOS, and I've regretted it ever since. Because there's things that, like, I couldn't even find where my voicemail was, and they've changed the search bar
Really?
on the top. If I'm going to search for email, now it's on the bottom. The same thing for text. So some of this they've done before, but it's just annoying because your brain is trained to do things in a specific
Right,
way.
you've done it the same exact way for years.
I couldn't find my voicemail. I'm like, where in the hell is my voicemail on this thing?
Fred, have you
can't
gotten
change back?
No, not once
Well,
you get it. I don't think you can.
I don't know if you can. That's a good
I don't
question.
think you can. Have you gotten the new update or no?
No, I haven't.
I haven't either. Okay, all right.
Don't do it.
It's birthday.
Wait for the new update. Wait for the fix of the new update. I don't know. I don't like, and this is usually by, a week into it, you could say, okay, I'm kind of getting used to it, but I'm still having issues with, finding things that I'm looking for. So.
All right, it's birthday time, and a couple of musicians here, starting with Joan Jett, who is 67. Forgive me for not pulling music. That is why Sue is better than me. Andre Bocelli, 67 as well. And Tony Basil?
Tony Basil, who
is 82.
Which she did this song.
Wow.
And this was a #1 song called Mickey in 1984. And I can tell you absolutely for sure, just because I knew this and I was working with the record company at the time, that I was the first person to play this on St. Louis radio ever.
Oh.
Ever.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But you know what's interesting about Tony Basil? This is why I wanted to bring it up. She's 82 years old today.
That's incredible.
So that surprised me. And I went back. You know what she was doing before she was doing this is she was a choreographer, and she worked on some big movies, like movies that we all know, like American Graffiti, Peggy Sue Got Married, That Thing You Do, My Best Friend's Wedding, all those things. So she had like quite a Hollywood career before Mickey, her number one hit.
Okay, we're going to wrap up here real quick. One on this day in history. 31 years ago, Friends debuted on NBC. Of course, ran for 10 seasons, one of my favorite shows of all time. And today's random fact of the day. Pong was never supposed to be released. A developer at Atari made it during a training exercise, but Atari's founder liked it so much that they decided to take it public.
Oh, there you go. I got to go out with Tony Basil here. By the way, this was 1982.
I'm Chad Robinson with Your Money Now. Stocks were higher on Wall Street with the three major averages today setting fresh record highs. The Dow gained 66, the S&P 500 grew by nearly 30, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ was up by more than 155 points. Disney plans to bring Jimmy Kimmel Live back to air on ABC starting tomorrow. The decision was announced nearly a week after ABC said it was suspending the late-night show indefinitely. The network is pulling the show days after the host made comments linking the alleged killer of conservative activist Charlie Kirk to President Donald Trump's MAGA movement. St. Louis Federal Reserve President Alberto Musalem says he's reiterating his support for last week's interest rate cut, but said he's wary about going much further. Crude oil futures for October are down slightly. They're under $63 a barrel, currently sitting at $62.64. That's Your Money Now.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Hey, I want you to be with us here. And when I say us, Mark and Annie and I will all be at the very final Protecting Your Retirement Advisory event with Thomas Helbig and the team at the Frontenac Hilton next Thursday, October 2nd. So it's just a little more than a week away at 6:30. We do 5 a year. This is a great opportunity for you to get involved and to find out if you're on track for retirement. So the market's hitting all-time highs right now. Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your gains without having to sell? Do you have your own personalized structured income plan set up? All of these things are important questions. Join us next Thursday night for the very last Protecting Your Retirement educational event. Now, keep in mind, some people like going in one-on-one. You can do that if you feel a little bit more comfortable in a group setting. We'd love to have you. Mark and Annie and I will all be there. We'll do a little introduction. We usually give away some T-shirts. Thomas takes it from there. It's not a big time commitment, too. It will start at 6:30. You'll be home at least to see the second quarter of the NFL game that night, and I can't remember who's playing. Go to retirementkey.com. Get registered today. These are free events. We just need to know that you're coming. retirementkey.com.
With this season's drought and high temperatures, demand for new sprinkler system installs is at its peak. Even with a little rain in the forecast, now is the absolute best time to put a new system in place, setting you up for a healthier, greener lawn next year. Don't let your lawn go through another season looking the way it does today. Take control now, and you'll never have to worry about the damage heat and dry weather can cause again. Call 636-695-7800 or visit ProOutdoor.com to schedule your new system installation today.
Are you 55 or older and have questions or concerns regarding your retirement plan? Do you wonder how rising taxes will impact your cash flow? I'm Matthew Allgaier of Fira Capital Management, and I can help you answer these questions and more. Register for our upcoming dinner at Chris's Steakhouse, Tuesday, September 23rd or Thursday, September 25th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. by calling 314-269-0954. This event will cover income and investment planning, and tax-efficient strategies. Seating is limited, so call now at 314-269-0954 to register. FIRA is registered as an investment advisor with the SEC and only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. This is a paid advertisement to KMOX News Radio 1120 by Pine Ridge.
It's motorcycle season in St. Louis. Time to ride. When the road gets rough and you're injured in an accident, you need someone who's got your back. You need Kaufman Townsley. We're local, we know St. Louis, and we don't settle unless it's what's best for you. When it's not, we go to trial, and we bring decades of experience with us. Kaufman Townsley, real people, real results. Call 314-500-5000. That's 314-500-5000.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
From Belleville to Bridgeton, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Cusumano coming up in just a little bit. First, Cassie Smedile back with us this afternoon, former RNC spokesperson, and she, of course, has been with us many, many times. Cassie, how are you this afternoon?
I am well. Great to be with you. Thank you for having me back.
Can we both agree, at least from the get-go, that we're both in better moods than we would have been if the Chiefs would have dropped that game to the Giants last night? But by the way, it was not out of the question. So I'm glad we got that one over with, right?
Oh my gosh, we just needed to get one win under our belt. But after that first half, I was particularly nervous. But that second half, we saw vintage Chiefs on display, and that gives me hope for the rest of the season. So
I hope so. And I kind of wasn't expecting. I was not altogether not expecting 0-2 from the beginning just because of the schedule. But yeah, they got back on track, and as they get healthier here, I kind of like you saw the chest bump with Travis Kelce and Andy Reid. Mm-hmm. Andy Reid's like, hey, that's a good thing. That's a good thing, right? We're getting competitive. So I think that's great. Well, Cassie, we're coming off a really interesting 2 weeks in not only American politics, but American history. I mean, what I saw yesterday, and I've admitted from the very beginning, I did not know Charlie. I don't believe he had ever even been a guest on my show, which is a little rare when it comes to, conservative thought leaders. We have most of them. But what I've seen in the last couple of weeks has really surprised me to see the amount of support that he's gotten, the way that people came out to this, memorial yesterday. It's really been incredible.
Mm-hmm. And I would say as well, I've been kind of in the same conservative voices rooms with Charlie, but I didn't work with him directly. But my husband got to work on a couple get out the vote projects with him last cycle. You hear so many people, including the president, credit him and his Turning Point USA operation for really turning out the vote and getting young people enthused and registered to vote. And that was something that he and my husband got to work on. And he has a lot of fond memories of that and how Charlie really challenged the status quo to really bust through the ceiling to make this change. And it's been awesome to see. But I'm with you. What's been even more awesome to witness and frankly be a part of in many of my own personal conversations over the last couple of weeks is that I thought this would be a legacy about politics and about elections, and to see that this is a legacy about a spiritual awakening and that people have been clamoring for this unifying voice and for someone to speak bigger than politics, bigger than country even, although absolutely a patriot for America, but about what is it that we want this world to look like and our communities to look like for each other as neighbors and friends and family and people getting married and raising kids. And to have that conversation happening from a 31-year-old and from his wife of about the same age, from this young couple, this young family, and what that has inspired amongst Americans across the spectrum. This doesn't feel like a left or right issue. This truly feels like people who are saying, I just want to feel okay being who I am, expressing how I feel, and being friendly with the person next door to me who may disagree with me, but that doesn't mean that I think that they're a bad person. And why can't that be the prevailing theme of the day as opposed to all these divisive themes that we've seen continually thrown out.
And I think one of the reasons that can't be a continuing theme is because let's bring him into the mix here, people like Jimmy Kimmel. And I don't know what your thoughts. Look, I have divided thoughts on this simply because I do not like Mr. Kimmel. I've grown to really, really dislike him. I wouldn't be upset if we didn't see him ever again. His wife, by the way, is from St. Louis, so he's got a bit of a St. Louis connection. But I seem to be the only person in conservative circles, along with Ted Cruz, not terrible company, that has a pretty big issue here with Brendan Carr and the way the FCC went about this last week. So, look, I'm all about getting rid of Kimmel for saying inappropriate things, but I wish it really would have been more organic. And I think part of it was because you had affiliates out there with these two companies that were getting pushed back. They were already involved with discussions, and then it looked like, from some of the reporting we got late last week, that he was unwilling to make amends, apologize. In fact, he wanted to double down. So I'm good with all that, him being taken off the air, all that stuff. But Cassie, I don't like the authoritarian part of this, because here's the deal. The left has been screaming for, months now, Nazi, authoritarian. It plays into their handbook. So that's one of the concerns I have here moving forward.
And I agree with you on that point, that I think it was happening organically anyway. And you're seeing reports to that effect that Disney was potentially not interested in re-upping his contract. And of course you saw what happened with Nexstar and Sinclair. But I would point out that, I think had Brendan Carr not said anything at all, we'd be at the same conclusion with Jimmy Kimmel right now.
Yes.
And so that muddied the water and gave the Democrats an excuse where they don't deserve to have one, because of course they've been the biggest subverters of free speech, not just in trying to have an iron fist over the culture wars and the airwaves, I should say, but also just to make you feel bad for, you should be ostracized because you want to put a Trump sign in your yard.
Yeah, any of that stuff,
or
right?
you want to speak out on a campus. Yeah, so I'm with you in that I don't like that they now get this little sliver of an excuse of, see, we told you, even though I actually don't think that's at all what happened. But, I was just having an exchange with some girlfriends just this morning where I said, I swear I haven't been hiding anybody or muting anyone or blocking anyone, but my algorithm on my phone is a different thing over the last 2 weeks. It is positive. It's spiritual. The conversations are hopeful. And so we have to believe to our betters. I'm with you. When you have the Jasmine Crockett's and the Ilhan Omars of the world who are going to continue to give people excuses to justify this murder, which is exactly what Ilhan Omar was doing.
No doubt.
Or even Mickey Sherrill, who's running for governor in New Jersey and is trying to make us think that she's some moderate. And here she is. She gave like 5 paragraphs justifying the actions of Charlie Kirk's assassin. That is only going to work to further divide us. But I do believe that when you have hundreds of millions of people tuning in to an 8-hour service on a Sunday, that is something bigger at play. And that's part of the American spirit, is to believe that good is always going to triumph over evil. That's what distinguishes us over so many other countries over the course of time. And so I'm coming at this with a more hopeful spot than I was 2 weeks ago, when I felt absolute hopelessness.
Yes. And I understand that. Yeah. And I think there is a lot of hope. And look, I always defend our, we do have normal liberals here in my area who aren't crazy, who don't wish death upon conservatives. And, we're genuinely, I think affected by everything that's happened the last couple of weeks. Cassie Smedile back with me this afternoon. Let me touch on a couple other issues. Have you pre-ordered the Kamala book, Cassie? My goodness, this ought to be fun. I'm not sure who the audience is here. And I love, this is one of my favorite stories. So she says in the book that she called Gavin Newsom to ask for his support, and he texts back hiking. So he's hiking. And then he said he called her back. He never called her back, like the whole time. The whole campaign.
This is a burn book. The movie Mean Girls? This
is
like Regina George burn book. I don't know what her end game is here. I think she needs to make money because nobody's hiring her, nobody's putting her on boards, and certainly nobody wants her to run for office again. But she's taken everybody down with her. If she can't have her way, nobody should get her way. And none of that helps the Democrat Party win in the elections. And the fact that they're all having, you got Shapiro and Buttigieg, all having to go on air to say their piece about this book, that's less time that they are spending going out to the American people to say, this is what we stand for. And we are not the party of crazy Mandami or AOC or Ilhan. There's actually people that really align with you and want to do good with you. They're not saying any of that. And the oxygen's totally being sucked out of the room by the crazies and by Kamala. And again, I said this earlier on Fox News, as someone who works for Republican campaigns, I hope they take Kamala's book tour live. I hope you take it live.
Yes,
Stream it.
yes.
Let us all see it. Let us all be reminded
Oh my gosh.
of what was so close to happening in this country.
I'm so glad you said
someone
that.
who wants to be a unifier.
Yeah, because it's going to be interesting to see. Well, I mean, maybe we're getting our hopes up, but look, the legacy media has every right at this point to ask her some pointed questions that she never was asked, and she's just going to giggle them away like she always has. But it will be interesting to see how this is managed here in the next couple of weeks and which outlets will do pieces, etc. So I'll be fascinated by that. She seems to be, though, I mean, I know you said most people think she could never run again. She seems to have convinced herself that she still can be a player on the national stage. So delusions of grandeur, what can you say?
Still in her hype. Yeah, she's the only one still believing her own hype, I think. But I go on Fox opposite Democrats all the time. And let me tell you, they just want her to go away. Those are direct quotes from virtually all of them. We wish she would go away. So I don't know who her base is of supporters that is going to fuel any sort of resurgence for her.
Yeah, it's not there. Hey, would you say, this is anecdotal, but would you say with the group of friends that you know, some of the, do they favor one person? I know this is getting way ahead of ourselves, but when it comes to 28, do they seem to favor one person over another, or is it just all over the place? Do you know? I was just curious.
It seems like they all are excited about Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland.
Well,
last I heard about him, he was on a yacht with George Clooney. So I don't know if he's that relatable, but that seems to be the name that keeps coming up.
Well, he's smart and he's not that crazy. Let's just put it that way. My long shot, just because, he may be too establishment for this party now, but I keep saying keep an eye on Rahm Emanuel, because he's out there trying to, and he's talking sense. So maybe I don't want him to pop through the field, but he's saying some things, about crime that are certainly things that we've been saying for a long time. Cassie, always great to have you on. I appreciate it. You have a great week.
Thanks, Mark. You too. Thanks, Mark.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, things are heavy on 270 southbound from Olive down to past 64 now. Just past Manchester, actually. Northbound side from Doherty Ferry up to Olive is slow. 170 southbound, heavy Olive to 64. 670 eastbound, slowing it downtown, but the westbound side slows through the airport to 270. Westbound on 64, Kings Highway to Big Bend on the brakes. Lindbergh to 270 through Chesterfield. Eastbound side, you got Lindbergh to Big Bend delays. And 55 southbound, heavy off 44 down to Arsenal with an earlier crash. It is cleared. And then you're heavy from Broadway to Bates. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, we'll talk a little sports with Cusumano on this Monday afternoon. Coming up next.
Scott Jennings here. I'm excited to be part of the St. Louis conservative conversation, cutting through the noise with unfiltered common sense.
Scott Jennings.
Weekdays at 8 p.m.
on 97.1 FM Talk.
Climate Masters. We specialize in older homes. Climate Masters Heating and Cooling. Trusted heating and cooling installation and maintenance service. Keeping the St. Louis Metro comfortable since 1978. Call us today at 314-968-8383. Climate Masters.
Are you 55 or older and have questions or concerns regarding your retirement plan? Do you wonder how rising taxes will impact your cash flow? I'm Matthew Allgaier of Fira Capital Management, and I can help you answer these questions and more. Register for our upcoming dinner at Chris's Steakhouse, Tuesday, September 23rd or Thursday, September 25th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. by calling 314-269-0954. This event will cover income and investment planning and tax-efficient strategies. Seating is limited, so call now at 314-269-0954 to register. FIRA is registered as an investment advisor with the SEC and only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. This is a paid advertisement to KMOX News Radio 1120 by Pine Ridge.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardie contractor and Pella Window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
I'm John Morgan of
Morgan & Morgan. We recently received a call from an injured person. The insurance company had offered them $11,000. We took the case over and got more than $2 million in court. Morgan & Morgan.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hi, Mark Cox with Gloria Lou, owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Being an actual client, I know a lot about you and your business. Today, I actually found out a few things I didn't know, like your home sales stats. Compared to the average agent who sells less than 4 to 6 homes a year, you actually sell a home about every other day. And even more impressive, your business has been built on giving back to our local community, including supporting St. Louis Children's Hospital.
Thank you. Every business should have a Go Serve Big initiative. When someone makes a referral, they're helping our communities, including St. Louis Children's Hospital, which is very special to me and my family because they helped me when I had my son many years ago. Today, sellers want to sell with certainty in this uncertain market. My upfront written guarantees are my secret to selling your home fast and for top dollar.
Friends, the secret is out. Call Gloria right now at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888. Or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
Tony LaRussa here. Has your loss of energy and weight gain thrown you a curveball in your relationship? If so, go see my friends over at Victory Men's Health. Discreet first-class professionals will help you hit those curves out of the park. VictoryMen'sHealth.com. That's VictoryMen'sHealth.com.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. If you're a renter, make sure you're protected. Renter's insurance includes options that cover stolen property, personal injury, and living expenses if your place is damaged. Quote Renter's Insurance at Progressive.com.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Monday afternoon, we visit with Frank Cusumano, sports director at KSTK. He's with us right now. Let's start with the Mizzou Tigers. It was a great win on Saturday. Not a perfect game played by Coach Drink's team, but they got it done, and now they move to UMass and then a bye and Alabama coming to town, Frank. So that you did what you had to with South Carolina starting their star quarterback.
Yeah, I was at the game. The environment was absolutely electric. And I got to tell you, Mark, I've seen you in person, and I think Ahmad Hardy's thighs are bigger than your waist. I mean, he is freaking Earl Campbell. He is a stud. He is humble. He loves sharing the spotlight with Jamal Roberts. This guy, you know, if they play 13 games, he's basically on pace for 2,000 yards. He is special. He is elite. And, you know, you can have a day where you're not throwing the ball that well. They weren't unbelievably throwing the ball that well on Saturday night. But this ground attack is not going away, and this guy's a star in the making.
I think he's like way under the radar on the Heisman Trophy stuff. But is it possible? I mean, if he keeps doing this 100-yard games each game, I think they have the stat up there. When's the last time this happened? 4 games or 3 games with 100-plus yards. And it wasn't, you know, a couple of years ago. It was like the 1960s or something like that, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think, you know, the Heisman Trophy, let's face it, for the most part has become a quarterback award. But if he has like back-to-back really great games and they're 6-0 after Alabama and he's sitting there like first in the country in rushing yards, he's second right now, he's got to be on a Heisman watch list. But these next couple of games, particularly the Alabama game, is going to be big.
Frank, Ethan here. You know, I know there was a lot of hype about the Tigers last year going into that game against Texas A&M where they really disappointed. But I'm trying to think of a time where it feels like the hype and the excitement around the Tigers right now following this win is really high. People like how Bo Prabula is looking. People are huge fans of Ahmad Hardy, understandably. Is there a Mizzou team that this one reminds you of, or should I say a time in which the excitement was at the level that it is right now that you can remember?
No, I can't. In fact, let's go back to what Coach Drink said at the beginning of the season. This is the most talented team I've ever coached. How about what Coach Beamer of South Carolina said about Trotter, their outstanding linebacker? They paid a lot of money for him in the offseason, and that was money well spent. I mean, I'm telling you, this Eli Drinkwitz, it's one thing to be able to coach talent, but it's another to be able to identify it and then put that budget together, which he's become genius at. This guy, you know, think about this, Mark. Before they hired him, they were looking at a coach at Arkansas State, and they were going to hire a coach from Arkansas State. And then John Sunvold and the board of directors stepped in and said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to search a little bit longer. And the board of directors, led by John Sunvold, insisted,
David Steelman.
Let's look around, and they came up with drinks.
David Steelman was involved in that when he was a member of the board of curators. He flew out there to get him. So, yeah, that was a huge, huge role. By the way, just on a side note here, since we're talking about Mizzou, Dennis Gates' class that's shaping up for next season in basketball is crazy right now. All right, let's talk about what happened in Busch Stadium yesterday. Ethan, were you there?
I was.
Okay, so
saw Frank there.
You had a decent-sized crowd. Last game of the season at home. How did the Mo reception go, in your opinion, Frank?
Oh, I thought it was great. I thought it was probably about 97% pro, maybe a smattering of boos. It was great because, we know Ron Burgundy from Anchorman, Stay Classy, San Diego. That's what St. Louis did yesterday. They let this guy know, who's been in the organization for 30 years, that we're not that myopic. We're not just thinking about the final couple of years. We know you've done good work. And it was cool. His son, Will, caught the ball. His daughter, his wife were out there. And then right after that, what a great move by Ali Marmol to put Nolan Arenado in the lineup just so he could come out and get an ovation. And Ethan, you were with me. I thought he was close to coming to tears when describing it. His family was there too. It was really a great display of baseball love.
Certainly the most emotional that I had seen him in that sense. We've seen him get emotional and fired up a lot, but you saw the soft side of Arenado there in the clubhouse. And, you were asking him a lot of those questions, right, in the post game in the clubhouse regarding what the future looks like for him. From what I took, it looks like we've seen Nolan Arenado play his last game as a Cardinal at Busch Stadium. Is that what you took from that conversation, Frank?
Yeah, there's no way. But I say this. There's no way he's coming back, but there's going to be a whole lot of maneuvering to get somebody to take him. It's $42 million left on the contract, and I think the Cardinals owe $37 million. So, and the Cardinals don't like to pay people that don't play for them. They're going to have to in this situation. It's a shame it didn't work out for him in Houston the past offseason, but yeah, there's no way he could come back.
All right, Frank, we'll talk on Friday afternoon. We get a preview of the UMass game. Got a good football game tonight, the Ravens and the Lions. Yeah. That should be a good one.
Yeah, a couple of great games. Yep.
All right, have a great week.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay, guys.
You don't have time to talk about the Chiefs. They finally won, but not in fine fashion.
Yeah,
right?
How do you think that locker room was after the game?
I don't know. Like Andy Reid says, the chest bump with Travis Kelce, that was a good thing because it kind of cranks up the level of competition. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't know. I don't think this is going to be a great year for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they got a tough schedule.
You wait for Rashee Rice and for Xavier Worthy to get healthy. Then I think you can start honestly evaluating that team.
Yeah, and he still has 3 more games, right? It was a 6-game.
I believe so.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, so it's going to be a few weeks. They got to weather the storm.
We got Chris Clem coming on in the 5 o'clock hour to talk about some border stuff.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Okay, so things are heavy on 270 southbound now from Olive to 64. Your northbound side door to way up to Olive is slow. 170 southbound, heavy Olive to 64. Then you've on Jam Kings Highway to Big Bend with a crash in the right lane. Lindbergh to 270 slow, then through Chesterfield. Eastbound sides is pretty slow now with the Gapers delays from Lindbergh over to Big Bend. 55 southbound, slow Broadway to Bates is back to normal, and 44 westbound, slow through downtown, pretty heavy. This report is sponsored by Baron Mirror Glass and Door. Baron Mirror Glass and Door has the largest, most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis, full of the latest, most custom designs located in the Chesterfield Valley. You'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Oh, this is a great Monday Night Football game to have a little fun with Underdog Fantasy. And if you haven't downloaded the app, you can play in Missouri. Download that app, get a username and a password, deposit a little money. I'm going to give you a method to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5 here in a minute. But with Underdog, it's real easy. And if you go online and you look at the app right now, you got big names in this game tonight, like Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, Jamar Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown. You just have to pick whether those players will go higher or lower on one of their stats: touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. It's that easy. You can play with as little as $1. You get things right, you can win up to 5,000 times your money. But if you don't have the app yet, then you got to fix that before tonight's game. Go home, download the app, Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with this promo code, Mark R. That gets you $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. Have a little fun with Underdog tonight. Before this game, millions of fans have won billions on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make plays. Win money. Must be 18 plus in President Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Consider with your play. Call 800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
KFTK FM Florissant.
An Odyssey station.
A link between a popular pain reliever and autism. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. That's the suggestion from President Trump, warning pregnant women to not take acetaminophen, known by the brand name Tylenol.
What can you take instead? It's actually, there's not an alternative.
The maker of Tylenol already pushing back, citing previous studies. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Today, the FDA will issue a physician's notice about the risk of acetaminophen during pregnancy and begin the process to initiate a safety label change.
Health experts say the rise in autism cases is mainly due to a new definition that includes cases on a spectrum and better diagnoses. With a deadline for a partial government shutdown approaching, the White House says President Trump will meet this week with Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer and House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. The Senate voted down two separate proposals last week, one from Republicans, the other from Democrats. The White House is hoping for a short-term plan to fund the government through the third week of November. ABC has ended Jimmy Kimmel's suspension, bringing Jimmy Kimmel Live back tomorrow night after comments he made related to the shooting death of Charlie Kirk.
In a statement, the company said, last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. It is a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive.
Fox's Michelle Polino. At the UN General Assembly, Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the Palestinian statehood is a right, not a reward. This comes as the UN looks to build support for a two-state solution to the Hamas-Israel war. Earlier today, French President Emmanuel Macron said France recognized Palestinian statehood. America is listening to Fox News.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
You hear that? That's Mike sleeping soundly on a Sunday night.
That's because Mike was smart this time. He took ZzzQuil Ultra to fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs. So now he wakes up refreshed and ready to conquer Mondays.
Let's do this Monday.
ZzzQuil Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
We've had a nice break from the unsettled rainy weather pattern, but the pattern is going to hold into Thursday. Partly cloudy skies. I'll keep a chance of a spot shower. Evening temperatures will be in the 70s, 66 for the low. On Tuesday, partly to mostly cloudy skies, scattered showers and thunderstorms. 80 degrees, scattered showers and thunderstorms Tuesday night and Wednesday. This is 71 FM Talk, Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, welcome back. Hour number 3 on this Monday. Sue Thomas is off. She'll be back on Wednesday. Tom Homan is in the news right now. There's this allegation of bribery that the Justice Department has sort of shut down and said nothing to see here. The New York Times did a bit of a hit piece, but I don't know what to believe on that. And I guess soon enough we'll find out. He's accused of taking cash in an FBI sting operation, but there seemingly doesn't seem to be any effort to take that case further. But what I know about Tom Homan is I like the guy, and I hope he's not in any trouble because he's come on this show many times and he's taken the appropriate stance for the American people. Now, last week he did an interview with Mika Brzezinski at MSNBC, and Mika was all high on her horse and condescending. And, if you watched it, you can see how condescending she was. But she referred to some of the people that ICE is removing from the country, criminals, as the disappeared, basically making an allegation that ICE is swooping in and disappearing all these people. They're just vanishing.
I would like to see that data that you're talking about, the 70%, the criminal history. I'd love some transparency as to why a lot of these people have been disappeared. You say you have data. We would love to see it. The American people should see this data.
Well, here's the rhetoric again, right? You just meant disappeared. That is a ridiculous thing to say.
Why?
Because ICE is doing the same thing we've done for decades. But because of the last 4 years, ICE wasn't allowed to enforce the law. ICE was told to sit back, and you can't arrest an illegal alien for simply being here illegally. You got to wait till they commit a serious crime and get convicted of that crime. That's the Secretary Mayorkas' instructions were. And that's why you saw there's so much crime in this country coming from the illegal alien population.
Yeah, of course. And we've talked about that time and time again. But the whole disappeared comment really set him off. And if you juxtapose that, Chris Clem is back with us, former Yuma Sector Border Patrol Chief, who testified before a Senate subcommittee hearing on immigration issues last week. Chris, welcome back. Thanks for coming on. But when you take that disappeared comment from Mika, referring to ICE, the true disappeared are these children that you testified about last week.
Yeah, hey, good afternoon, and thanks for bringing that up. That is actually the real thing that's going on, the real disappearing. Classic Democratic, classic progressive left projection. They allowed over 300,000, we narrowed it down to about 120,000 children to disappear under their watch, under the Biden administration, under Secretary Becerra. Yet here they go projecting that people that are being arrested and removed with due process by our immigration enforcement agencies as calling that disappearing. No, that's called the process of the law, and it's called a removal proceeding. And it's been, like Tom said in that interview, been going on for decades. Difference is we got a new boss in town named President Trump that is allowing men and women to do their job, not this nonsensical stuff of just letting everybody go because, well, we feel better about ourselves.
So let's talk about, you and I have had these conversations before, but let's talk about the kids in particular, some of whom, most of whom entered illegally, ranging from sometimes they're just babies, right? Months old to 17 years old. A lot of them, as you testified, they were adolescents. They were aware of what was going on. The younger ones clearly did not. But I mean, the question then becomes, what happened to several 100,000 of these kids? Where are they right now?
Yeah, so any child that came into custody of the Office of Refugee Resettlement, entered the country illegally. I mean, we have to recognize that is the fact. And as you just stated, and as I stated when I was testified, is the majority were 14 years or older, and especially those that are from Central America. 14-year-old, that's like a 19-year-old here in the States. These are people that have grown up in some harsh circumstances. But what happens is the sponsor requirements, the vetting, even the immigration enforcement process for children under Biden was they would let these kids be placed with sponsors, and there was a 120-day moratorium before we would serve them with their immigration papers. So what happened in that 120 days when they had poor sponsor information? We didn't know who, or there was no vetting or no background done. They got lost. And that's what that Inspector General report showed, where there was 300,000 missing kids. They were missing because the government intentionally put policies in place that prohibited and mucked up, if you will, the whole process. So we had to go out there and start from scratch. Everything, if they weren't above board, was like starting a cold case, because there's hundreds, if not thousands, of cases where kids were in multiple aggregate addresses, apartment complexes, or places that didn't even exist, or liquor stores. It was just an address given. So every ICE agent that's going out there to find these kids is starting practically from scratch. And that was done on purpose by the last administration.
In your opening statement that was submitted to this hearing last week, you said one of the more dumbfounding discoveries revealed immediately to me upon arriving in January, because you did this 100-day stint with the administration, was an internal review by the Office of General Counsel at HHS. Explain what was so outrageous about that.
Yeah, well, that actually worked out. Was very interesting, because Senator Moody from Florida, Ashley Moody, was actually the Attorney General in Florida at the time. So the state of Florida under Governor DeSantis had the grand jury, the AG's office, get a grand jury and look at data in Florida, how the Office of Refugee Resettlement under Secretary Becerra was trafficking and putting kids into bad places, right? So the grand jury, which is, people that got jury duty, looked at the facts, looked at evidence, and said, this is a problem. Well, that was submitted. And so HHS looked at that data and said, well, we're going to do our own investigation to see if this is accurate. And not only was it accurate and corroborate what Florida said, it actually found more cases, but they didn't do anything about it. The politicals were given that information and did nothing about it. I'd been there a week, and I would say, hey, this fell on our desk. Look what happened. And so not only did I look at that information, I had our general counsel do another investigation, identified more problems, corroborated the Florida case, and now that has led to over 22,000 children that have been found. That has led to over 400 criminal charges on sponsors, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. But again, that was ignored by Florida, let me correct it. That was issued by Florida, ignored by the Biden administration,
right?
Taken on by the Trump administration, and we continue to work through that to this day.
So you have confidence now that the process is working a lot more efficiently in the way that it should in trying to collect information and tracking down these kids.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because there was a chart which is very interesting by the Democrat leader Alex Padilla out of California. We all know him because he's the one that stormed Cusumano, Secretary Domes. Yes,
that's right.
Guy,
yep.
He brought up a chart complaining that while the amount of children that are actually in custody is down to under 2,000, the amount of time that they have remained in custody is now close to 6 months. Well, you know why? Because we've held the sponsor vetting to the highest standards we can under the current laws. We have actually put people on notice that you can't just fake your way through this and use fraud and use fake documents and use photoshopped evidence to say you're a family member. We are doing all the background checks. We're requiring DNA. That's why these kids are in our custody longer. Yeah, novel concept, right? If you actually hold the sponsors accountable and make sure that they're here legally and not criminals, they can't get the kids. So therefore, the kids are in our custody. So I have a high degree of confidence that we are in a good spot, much better spot than before, and it's only getting better. And the men and women that are in place working this from the refugee resettlement are doing a great job. and obviously we have the support from all the federal law enforcement agencies, and they're working side by side. They're collaborating and working this together like never before.
Chris Clem is here, former Yuma Sector Border Patrol Chief. So, in a hearing like this, when we typically air them on the radio or watch TV, there's a lot of partisanship back and forth. This is a serious issue. It really is. There's so many issues related to the border outside of just the illegal crossings that we had to witness for 4 years. And this illustrates the point perfectly. But what was the reception like in that committee? I mean, was this partisanship about immigration, or did you actually have engagement from Democrats that this is a pretty, important issue that should be investigated?
Well, you know what? Most of the time when you're hearing, it is about sound bites for the left or the right, whoever's leading the hearing, right? I gotta tell you that I felt more comfortable or a level of confidence on this one.
Good.
That they recognize that there is a criminal element involved here, that it's not just immigration. And even before and after the hearing, when I met with different senators as we were just shaking hands, I was like, there's common ground here to focus on the criminal side. Because I believe that if there were 500,000 children that needed to come to the United States and we said, hey, we've got opportunities to take care of them, and we eliminated the criminal side of it. They weren't going into forced labor, forced sex trafficking, weren't being organ harvested or tortured or abused. I don't think we would have that big of a problem with that, right? Because they're kids, especially those tender age ones. I have problems with the older ones and the gang members, obviously. But if we took the criminal element out of it, that's what we want to do. That's a beacon of hope. But I think I got some, you're right, from Padilla.
Well, let's hope
the
so.
Other ones, yeah. But you know what? The Republicans that were there, Moody, Britt, Cornyn, they are firing all cylinders on this and got some good solutions and good
good to hear that. That's good to hear that.
Laws going forward. So.
All right, let's get your reaction to some other things. J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson in Chicago.
This is wrong. It's unconstitutional. It's un-American. They send ICE in here to cause challenges and mayhem on the ground.
Masked men with war weaponry, into cities and creating checkpoints in cities and disappearing people without the due process, right? I mean, he's already doing that. This is no longer a threat. He's doing it.
Did you hear that? He's using that word. See, that's the talking point, disappearing people. Here's Gavin Newsom.
Unmarked cars, people en masse, people quite literally disappearing, no due process, no rights in a democracy where we have rights. Immigrants have rights, and we have the right to stand up and push back.
American citizens used to have rights, Chris Clem, but not more important than the immigrants and the criminals out there. What do you say to all that?
Well, first of all, these guys are just so stupid. These are people that have been elected that have no understanding of the law, or they just choose to be ignorant and feed their base. Let me just explain a couple things. Yes, American citizens have rights. Immigrants have rights. Illegal aliens have due process rights, but they also have the right to remain silent because they're going to be arrested. Okay, this nonsense that they're violating laws and disappearing, it's so ridiculous. It's getting old. And this idea that they're coming in, bringing in what I think it was Pritzker said, weapons of war. They're going out there and doing their job. The only people that are organizing terror and hate and discontent is the left challenging these agents that are enforcing the law. Just like Newsom passing the law, you can't wear a mask. He has no authority to embark or impose anything on federal agents as far as their operations. That would come down from their leadership. So again, another forward-facing crybaby left signal to say, look what we're doing something. They can't do anything. They can't tell an ICE agent they can't wear a mask. They can't tell an ICE agent they can't wear or have an unmarked vehicle. It's just wasting everybody's time. It's wasting taxpayers' dollars. The president has made it very clear this is a national security interest, is national security threats. We have to get our immigration under control, and they are going after the criminals, but they're not turning a blind eye. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and you're here in violation of immigration laws, you will be arrested. You're not the priority, but they're not going to turn you away like they were told to do by the previous administration. Let
me put a little bit more on you here. On the masking, here's Gavin Newsom.
I'll be signing a bill, the first in the nation, saying enough. To ICE, unmask. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? It's like a dystopian sci-fi movie. Unmarked cars, people en masse, people quite literally disappearing, no due process, no rights. We're pushing back against these authoritarian tendencies and actions of this administration. ICE is now the largest private police force in the United States.
Now, Chris, you and I have had the discussion before. I am uncomfortable. You can address this again. I do not like the masked ICE agents. I understand there's a reason, and these people are being doxxed, their families are at risk. But one of the issues that I have with the way this whole Jimmy Kimmel thing went down last week is with Brendan Carr at the FCC. And when I hear something like that with Newsom, my fear is that some of this is going to resonate with middle of the road American people, where I'm, livid that they keep calling us Nazis and authoritarians and all this stuff. The problem is that there's a few things, including the masking of ICE agents, that kind of play into the narrative there and might not work very well for conservatives. Any thoughts on that?
No, and like we've talked about before, I mean, I wish it wasn't that case. That was the case, right? I never wore a mask when I was making vehicle stops or tracking people or doing. But I understand from the doxing and the attacking that the left has organized that they need to do that.
Yeah.
I wish we weren't there, right? And I do agree that I say we, but the immigration enforcement agents, especially ICE, are feeding a little bit of that and plays right into the hysteria. But you know what? It was created by the left. It wasn't necessary. This wasn't absolutely necessary, but now it has become an officer safety issue. Part of the reason why they did is a lot of the undercover agents that were never to be seen, they were doing surveillance, they were doing, buys, all that kind of stuff, have been put to the front lines to address this immigration issue at the behest of the president. So they want to make sure they're kind of covering themselves. But then you have the doxing and everything else that's going on. I think we should be, I hope that it can scale back a little bit. But right now, this just becomes politics now, because as soon as ICE stops wearing masks, Newsom and Pritzker will turn around and say, see, we fixed it.
Well, that's probably true. The thing that, my concern is always, look, I think this, we've talked about this before, this immigration thing, 90-10 at least, maybe 95-5. Most people are on board with this is unbelievable what we allowed to have happen over 4 years. It's outrageous. We want American taxpayers to be prioritized. But this, they think they have something here, and you can hear them with the whole disappeared, talking point. And, when that gets amplified, because we know, and better than anyone, that the media is not going to be fair on this issue. I worry that some of the high ground that we have on these issues, and that's why I kind of offered up the Kimmel thing as an example too, that we're ceding some of that. So that worries me from a political perspective.
Well, you're right. I mean, I think that it's definitely something that needs to be considered. I hope that the powers that be are having this conversation. We're going to see that as we go into the spring, as primary season picks up for the midterms and gubernatorials, where some of the right starts talking about it, because they're going to have to find some common ground here. Because you are right. All it takes is one little crack for the water to seep in, and then you can ruin everything. Yeah. And it's the same thing, right? If we have a situation where something goes really wrong with a masked agent or something like that, you could have some blowback.
Yeah.
I just hope that everybody understands that the reason for it is not to, be this terror organization or to invoke fear. It's to protect the well-being of those agents and their families, because of the actual domestic violence and all the craziness that the left has started just by ICE agents going out and doing their jobs. Just literally 4 or 5 ICE agents knocking on a door at an apartment complex, and then you had 20 people surrounding them and taking pictures and all this kind of stuff. So they had to protect themselves.
Yeah, no, that's outrageous. I get it. I know that there's a lot of nuance here. Chris Clem, you're always great. Thank you so much. You have a great week.
You do the same.
All right,
man.
take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We got 70 westbound slows, 367 over to Lucas Hunt, 55 southbound slow Broadway to Bates, 64 on your westbound side from Kings Highway to Big Bend on the brakes, and then through Chesterfield. Nothing eastbound any longer. 170 to make that southbound is slow from Forest Park Parkway down to 64, and 270 southbound slow Olive to past Manchester, northbound side Manchester to Olive slowdowns. And this report is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
From now on, if you spring a leak, need a water heater, or have hard water,
Thanks for calling Jerry Kelly Heating, Air, Plumbing, and Electrical.
Jerry Kelly will fix the leak, install the thing, and make that hard water easy. From the company who's got your whole home covered.
JerryKelly.com. If you are in a situation where you believe that your marriage is going to end and you need legal assistance, I'm going to guide you into some exceptional legal help here with Susan L. Ward at her law firm. They have a brand new office at 270 Manchester in De Pere. Brand spanking new, lots of technology in there. I know Susan's very proud. She's proud of the reputation that her firm has had now for 3+ decades here in St. Louis. It's a tough area of the law. You want to get ahead of the problems that you might have. You don't reach out as soon as you should, which is right away. Susan will tell you that some things can come back and haunt you when kids are involved. My kids were very young when I went through this experience. It's tough. Anger builds, emotions build. You want someone on your side that can manage all that effectively and leave you in the best situation on the other side of the divorce. And then when you have issues that are related, whether it's child support issues, anything that happens in the aftermath of divorce, modifications, etc., they can absolutely help you out with that. Check out Susan L. Ward today. The law firm's website is perfect, stlfamilylaw.com, or you can call 783-9400. The focus on family law and the emphasis on you.
Stop just trying to paint and patch up the outside of your home. It's time to give it a permanent upgrade with James Hardie fiber cement siding from Lakeside Renovation and Design. This siding is designed to stand up to all the crazy weather we get here in Missouri, and it looks fantastic. Lakeside is a James Hardie elite preferred contractor. Whole team, by the way, is in-house, and they're going to take care of all the details, the color, the trim, everything to customize it to your home, to take the stress off of your plate. If your home is showing any signs of wear, it's time to take the next step. Visit lakesiderd.com.
Celebrate September with Zero Res and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Book online at ZeroResSTL.com. Take advantage of these huge savings. Spell it forward or backwards, it spells the same. Zero Res.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the Gelman team of eXp Realty. If you want immediate cash for your home or to see what your home is actually worth in today's market, find out for free from the local experts. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
Are you 55 or older and have questions or concerns regarding your retirement plan? Do you wonder how rising taxes will impact your cash flow? I'm Matthew Allgaier of Fira Capital Management, and I can help you answer these questions and more. Register for our upcoming dinner at Chris's Steakhouse, Tuesday, September 23rd or Thursday, September 25th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. by calling 314-269-0954. This event will cover income and investment planning and tax-efficient strategies. Seating is limited, so call now at 314-269-0954 to register. FIRA is registered as an investment advisor with the SEC and only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. This is a paid advertisement to KMOX News Radio 1120 by Pine Ridge.
Back to Mark Reardon, because someone's got to say it out loud. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I opened up the show this afternoon with Senator Ted Cruz audio, being maybe one of the only people out there that agrees with me that the FCC getting involved in the Jimmy Kimmel thing is just ridiculous. And if you haven't heard, he's back tomorrow night. ABC announced today that the show is coming back. But you know how a lot of people on the right are always kind of pigeonholed into the cuckoo crazy area. I had to play this because this is getting no attention whatsoever. But this woman's name is Catherine Fitz. And she used to be the assistant secretary for HUD, for Housing and Urban Development. And she's asked about the reaction to, I think it's on a podcast or something, the reaction to everything that happened with Charlie Kirk. And listen to what she says here.
I think it's a psyop, and I think it's a complete waste of our time. What you want to focus on, forget what might have happened or not happened. What you want to focus on is this is being used as an excuse by the Attorney General. We're hearing it from the President to get tyrannical laws and to rip up the Constitution. Don't let it happen. So, don't let free speech be interfered with. Don't let any of your due process rights be destroyed.
But good Lord, did you hear the first part of that? Let's focus on the first part of that.
I think it's a psyop.
The whole thing is just a military operation that is being used to get more people to support President Trump. Is that what she's saying there? Now, on the part of the First Amendment, freedom of speech, I think there is something to be said here. Francis Menton wrote about this at the Manhattan Contrarian today, and this is very relatable for me because it sort of sums up my viewpoint on what's going on right now. He says, the 4 years of the Biden presidency were a terrible low point for the protection of freedom of speech in the U.S. A web of government agencies and allied NGOs sprang up with remarkable rapidity to identify and ban disfavored search, almost always of conservatives. Just a few examples. The White House itself pressured social media platforms to suppress disfavored speech on politically sensitive topics like COVID and climate change. Outrageous. We complained about that. We had attorneys general in both Eric Schmidt and Andrew Bailey, former attorneys general in Missouri, go after the government on that particular issue, right? Happened on Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. They collaborated with universities and NGOs like the Stanford Internet Observatory to get disfavored speech banned or suppressed. The Department of Homeland Security formed this is outrageous when you think about it. We highlighted it at the time. They actually formed a disinformation governance board to coerce social media companies to suppress speech deemed disinformation, right? And we know that the FBI conducted wide-ranging investigations of Republican politicians and organizations, maybe even Tom Homan. We don't know that. That whole enterprise got the nickname of the censorship industrial complex. You had former lefties like Mike Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi, and I mentioned Sasha Stone every once in a while. These were far, far left-wingers who saw what the government was doing, and they were outraged by it. And they say, you can't have it happen. Well, now it's kind of happening on the right. So what Francis wrote here is in the past week, we've seen two bad unforced errors on a freedom of speech issue by high-ranking members of the Trump administration. First is Pam Bondi. I highlighted this last week. She's on a podcast with someone named Katie Miller. It aired a week ago today. And she was asked if the Justice Department will be cracking down on groups that engage in hate speech. And she says, we'll absolutely target you, go after you if you're targeting anyone with hate speech, anything that's across the aisle. No. That's not how it works, right? Brendan Carr then, goes on and says there are actions we can take on licensed broadcasters that carry Kimmel's show. Really sort of pastime that a lot of these licensed broadcasters themselves push back, going on Comcast and Disney. Comcast owns NBC, and said, listen, we're going to preempt. We're not going to run Kimmel anymore until you straighten this out, because we license broadcasters and are running the possibility of fines or license revocations from the FCC if we continue to run content that ends up being a pattern of news distortion. Now, I could agree with Brendan Carr on a lot of that, but not on the government actually getting involved in doing anything about it. Like as Ted Cruz said, no.
Kimmel will be fired. I think, you could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. And again, the FCC is going to have remedies that we could look at. And again, we may ultimately be called to be a judge on that.
That's Brendan Carr. Here's Ted Cruz.
No.
Thank you, Ted Cruz.
I understand. Jimmy Kimmel has mocked me so many times I cannot count. The corporate media, they are dishonest. They are liars. I hate what Jimmy Kimmel said. I am thrilled that he was fired. But let me tell you, if the government gets in the business of saying, we don't like what you, the media, have said, we're going to ban you from the airwaves if you don't say what we like, that will end up bad for conservatives.
Absolutely. By the way, Ted Cruz, Senator Cruz, says all this stuff not knowing, because it does, last week it seemed like he was gone, Jimmy Kimmel fired, but no, he's coming back tomorrow night.
It reminds me of, you and I are both fans of The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
J.R.R. Tolkien. It reminds me of like the Ring of Power. And it is so attractive. It's sort of like conservatives are saying, wait, if we have government, we have power. Yeah. We can ban the media. Let me tell you what will happen. Going down this road, there will come a time when a Democrat wins again, wins the White House.
They will get rid of every
Democrat
talk show host in
FCC,
America that's a conservative. They'll get rid of every podcast. They'll get rid of everybody
they will
on YouTube.
silence us. They will use this power, and they will use it ruthlessly.
Why is Ted Cruz one of the only people on Capitol Hill saying that? Why is he the only one that's telling the truth, right? Because that will happen. And you're ceding the moral high ground right now. Don't do it, Republicans.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
The southbound on 270, slow from Page to Manchester, then past 44. You've got northbound side from Manchester to Olive, 170, southbound slow, the due to 64, 64. Westbound, slow Kings Highway to Big Bend, 94 past K. Eastbound on Big Night to about Big Bend, 55 southbound slow Broadway to Bates, 70 westbound slow Union to Lucas Hunt, and eastbound side heavy 170 to Hanley with a crash in the two right lanes. This report is sponsored by The Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Sue Thomas is off this week. She will be back on Wednesday afternoon. Just go up online to igotfloored.com and press reviews at the top of the page. You can see the location reviews or all reviews. You're going to see customer after customer raving about the service at Michael's. We've had wonderful results from the flooring that Michael's Flooring installed in our home. Says Vera. Daniel, I was shopping for small flooring job I had in my house. I'm so glad I stopped in Michael's Flooring Outlet. They were more than professional and accommodating. I walked out with what I needed for less than half of what Home Depot wanted. I'll be back for future products I have planned. I always kind of compare this to the big box stores because you're getting a level of expertise and just absolute experience in this industry that you're not going to get anyplace else. Mike Reynolds and his team are very proud of that, and they can help you out. I had to highlight this last week. I have a little carpet repair job that they're going to need to help me out with. They can do stuff like that as well. igotfloored.com, 3 great locations, Old Town St. Peter's, in Darien Prairie, and in West County on Olive. And again, the website, igotfloored.com from Michael's Flooring Outlet.
Hey, Stewie, I'm hearing mortgage rates have plummeted. The Fed's making moves. Is this the moment where folks can start saving some money?
Annie, I'm so excited, and you should be too. This is a great opportunity. Now, there's numerous ways to go ahead and save money. One is go from rate A to rate B, reduce it at no cost with the bagel loan, and save $100 to $300, $700 a month. Another way is to reduce the term. We took a customer, went from 29 years left on the loan to 20 years. Their payment went up $35 a month, and guess what? They saved $170,000 in interest.
Does that mean we should wait, or should we act right now?
Well, that's a good question. People ask me this all the time. The Federal Reserve is going to cut the rates. Maybe I should wait. No, the market goes ahead and adjusts for potential rate cuts in the future. So the rates are typically lower than when the Federal Reserve actually does something about it. So go ahead and refinance now. Later on, if rates go ahead and drop, we can always refinance you for free again with the bagel loan.
Contact my friend Stewie at 314-324-4440. Google the bagel loan and MLS number 226715.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid residents in need of care at home. If you need assistance with daily activities, you can receive in-home care from a loved one that lives with you and they get paid. Through Medicaid, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care at home in St. Louis, and they get paid weekly. Available to eligible Medicaid members in St. Louis. Call now to check your eligibility. It can be your daughter, son, a close relative, or trusted friend helping you with cooking, transportation, laundry, and other activities in your own home. You get the help you need, and your caregiver gets paid. Freedom Care has over 7,000 five-star Google reviews and is a leading choice in St. Louis for in-home care. If you have Medicaid and want to receive great care from a loved one, go to freedomcare.com, or for faster service, call 314-597-1749. 314-597-1749. That's 314-597-1749.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
CherryKilling.com.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. Built on backbone, not buzzwords. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
Well, Fred, here we are at the end of a baseball season. We had great hope when we didn't really have great hope, did we? But we had great hope at the end of May. And the beginning of June, part of June. But look, you have attendance at Busch Stadium. This is not a shocker. We were talking about it for a year now that this would happen, down like 1 million fans from 2023. That is a huge, huge number. The last couple of years have been bad. Yeah, John Mozeliak, who is on the outs now, retiring, and Chaim Bloom taking over. We invited Joe Arnold to kind of take part in this conversation, longtime Louisville broadcaster. He's also Scott Jennings' bodyguard. I don't know if you knew that, but he's with us this afternoon. How are you, Joe?
Yeah, it's a dangerous word right now, but I'm a top advisor. How's that?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I know you kind of worked with him on the book, and the book's coming out now in like 2 months, but you were doing some behind the scenes editing with him earlier this year, weren't you?
I don't know if that's public, Mark.
Well, it is now. I'll make it public. Hey, if both of our names aren't mentioned, at least in the forward or the thank yous, I'm going to be pissed. Your name will be for sure. All right. So where are we with the Cardinals here, Joe? I mean, I've become completely disengaged from baseball. I've lost hope. Usually I last a little longer. I'll get back into the playoffs because I can root for the Brewers because my wife's from Milwaukee. But, we said this last year, Joe Arnold, and Fred and Ethan's in here too. This is going to be a long-term, turnaround. It's not going to happen right away. But don't you have to give the fans at least something to chew on in the off season so we have a reason to go next year?
I believe that's true. I do think just the other factors of the world are conspiring against the Cardinals too, and that is social media, for the prevalence of whether it's podcasts or just the death spiral of bad information is what I see here with the Cardinals. And it seems to me, and people are already upset and frustrated about the team. And I think for the most part, because I live out of town, I'm in Louisville, I'm not able to be there every day. And if I hear about the Cardinals, for the most part, what I hear and the prevailing kind of wisdom is just that they're terrible, and everything about them is terrible. And then frankly, I came to town this past year. I saw you, of course, for one game. And even that was like St. Louis is terrible. Downtown is terrible. Downtown is not safe. It's just like everything's expensive. And ultimately, so I'm not getting fed a lot of good information and feeling all that. I have to overcome a lot.
Right. Yeah.
I have to get there. And it's like, okay, well, and what I'm tapping into is frankly nostalgia. I'm tapping into the fact that I have you said Die Hard, because when you grow up with something and it has to do with my attending on straight A tickets, when I was at St. Augustine of Canterbury grade school, and I got my 2 up in, at Busch 2 in Peanut Heaven, but that was great because it was part of the family, the whole thing. But that's but I saw Bob Gibson pitch, and I saw Al Hrabosky, the mad Hungarian, and that kind of passion. But my concern now for the Cardinals is that if an entire generation of fans, and you have to get them when they're young, are not, it's not just a matter of winning. It's a matter of entertaining. And if you're not, capturing those kids, then this problem's not just next year.
You're right about that.
Then is 10 years from now,
That's a great point, Joe. It really is. And you're not, look, we had so much fun. What was it, 3 seasons ago now with Albert coming back and that was amazing fun. And then, let's face it, the first half of this season was pretty damn good and it was entertaining and they were scoring runs and we had a lot to cheer on. But to your point, I mean, I just feel like you can certainly have lightning in a bottle. Maybe some of the young talent does a little bit better into next year and beyond. But this is looking like a 3-year process, at least 3 years. Ethan, do you disagree with that?
I would argue, I would say 3 years, but that's taking into consideration that I think that we're going to have a lockout in 2027. I would be surprised if we play baseball in 2027 or have anything close to a full season.
The whole year?
Yeah, or close to it. They are so far apart on this salary cap stuff right now. It's going to be ugly.
That's just my concern. Now, when you brought up Albert Pujols coming back, and that was, of course, it was a great moment when he walked out on spring training, but don't forget that was right after the last lockout ended.
Yeah.
And I'm still, I mean, I can be steamed from 94, the strike, but we've had a couple of these different lockouts or interruptions then, since then. And after a while, you kind of feel like just, I've been squeezed a little bit too far, It's like, and even I'm a big fan, but at the same time, you're asking a lot.
Well, think
and
about the casual
exactly
fans.
right, Ethan.
Yeah.
This is going to be hard to come back from if they do it once again. The onus is on the players at this point, as far as that's concerned. Every other league has gone to more of a parity model and had some kind of a salary cap, but I think this is a hill they're going to die on. So the problem is for a historic but small market team like our city like St. Louis, you're asking a lot to come back from. So I am concerned because I want the Cardinals to survive. I want them to be able to come back, but it's discouraging. And then you go back to the one thing I was thinking about before talking to you today was, and I said this to you years ago, is like they seem to be specializing in every metric except winning. It's like, there's barrel rate and launch angle and exit velocity and spin and, and vertical break and all the other things you look at. And I miss the old days when I think under Herzog and La Russa, it was like, let's just find a way to win. And I think sometimes we can get I think Chaim Bloom is into the metrics and those kind of things, and you need to be on top of those things. Certainly I understand as far as when you're deciding which free agents to sign or how someone is excelling, but or how they're progressing with their career. But I'm looking at a Nolan Gorman or a Jordan Walker, these guys who are phenoms we were told coming up, and I don't know what we've done to them. I just want them to win.
Hey, Ethan, on Joe's point, this is an interesting point because look, we've got 4 people here in different generations that are huge baseball fans. I mean, Joe and Fred and I all grew up with it. Ethan, you're a huge baseball fan. I don't care about launch angle and all that stuff. And there's so much focus on that stuff with the TV coverage. I don't care. I just want to see him score runs, run the bases, win a game. But there's so much damn focus. Is it me because I'm older and I don't have interest in the analytics? Do younger people demand all that on screen during a baseball game? Because we don't get that during football. We just watch the damn game.
I think people are entertained by the numbers to a certain extent. Now, if your question is it solely
overdone? Is it overdone?
Yeah. I think you can make an argument, but I think in a day and age, right, where you're trying to modernize as much as possible, like baseball's been trying to play catch up now for several years. And I think that they've done a good job. They've done some things right to modernize the game and make it more entertaining for fans to where they are making leaps and strides.
Not enough. Look, I can go on Netflix right now and I can watch a behind the scenes, really cool Netflix show on the PGA. I can watch Quarterback. I can watch, other shows behind the scenes where you have people that have personalities that fans are getting to know. Baseball doesn't want to do that. They don't seem to want to have any fun with stuff like that.
I think the most fun I have this year is when they would interview a player during the game and you could hear them if you were mic'd up in the outfield. That was fun. That was interesting. I think that was
some of the ESPN games.
Yeah,
you mean?
Right.
Joe, do you like that or not? Joe's such a purist. I can hear him say, "No, concentrate on the game."
I will make concessions if it means that Fred will go to the game with me, then that's fine. But but at the same time, I don't like the idea of interrupting the game and having some of these guys in the middle of trying to focus on a play.
I know.
Talking
it's
to the
weird. It is weird.
But going back to some of these numbers, whether they're on the screen or not, I don't personally really care. I think there are managers out there in baseball, and to go even further, there are front offices in baseball that are relying so heavily on these numbers that they are taking away the ability for managers to manage the game based off of their knowledge and their understanding of their team. That is bad for baseball. Ollie Marmol, people talk about Ollie Marmol being this super modern, heavy on the numbers, heavy on the analytics guy. And he's kind of bunked that down, saying, no, there's a time and when it's necessary. And there's a time in which you have to go with your gut and your understanding and your knowledge of being around the game. I think that the best managers for the future of baseball are going to have to know how to be able to do both well.
And you don't think he loses his job, right?
Certainly not this year.
Yeah.
He has 1 year remaining on his contract. You look at what he's done the last couple of years with the rosters that he's had. And I don't know if you're looking at any other manager out there and you're saying, yeah, he would have been that much better. These two seasons, these 3 seasons have not been on.
How do
Ollie
you
Marmol.
feel about that perspective, Joe Arnold?
I guess. I mean, Ollie, I think he's as capable as most others, but I don't know. I mean, it seems to me that you do pay for experience, and maybe this is what he's just being fed. But I do think that he's somebody who I hear a lot of post-game, news conferences or scrums with the reporters, and I hear, and I think he's taking up for his guys, and I appreciate the loyalty. But at the same time, it's like, he won that at bat, or he won.
He had good swings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, whether you won or not, and I guess if the public and if the fan base is going to be this frustrated, you'd hope that the people who actually are on the team will be equally as frustrated. And I think sometimes it's like middle management. It's like, did you hit your QR reports for this month? Yes, let's have a ice cream social. This is great. We can, and I'd rather just have the win, and I don't really care how you get there. And maybe that's short-sighted of me, but
I get it. And can we agree? Look, I'm just telling you because I got a wife who's from Milwaukee. I spent almost 10 years there, and they knew where my allegiances were because I would wear my Cardinals gear when the Cardinals would face the Brewers. But I can root for the Brewers in the postseason, and I wish them well.
They've done it the right way. They have look what they've done. They've proven, if we need a reminder in St. Louis, that you can win in a small market. You can also win without any kind of. I mean, they got to have Kristen Yelich, but for the most part, they have a lot of guys being paid the major league minimum or just above.
They're doing what we used to do, Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
They're doing what the Cardinals used to do.
Exactly.
Joe Arnold, I'm got to go because I got to get to audio cut of the day. Great to hook up with you. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, we'll see you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, 270 slow southbound from Page to Manchester, Penn past 44. Northbound side Manchester to Olive, 170 southbound slow Ladue to 64. 64 westbound slow Kings Highway to Big Bend, then past K. Eastbound side McKnight to Big Bend, and 55 southbound slow Broadway to Bates. This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Your garage door is the largest piece of moving equipment in your home. When it needs help, call the experts at Overhead Door for same-day service at 314-781-5200 or schedule online at overthis.com. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
A Midwestern mom from Edwardsville, Illinois, rooted in faith, grounded in family. Annie Fry brings common sense and conviction to the conversation. The Annie Fry Show, weekdays at noon on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
Are you 55 or older and have questions or concerns regarding your retirement plan? Do you wonder how rising taxes will impact your cash flow? I'm Matthew Allgaier of Fira Capital Management, and I can help you answer these questions and more. Register for our upcoming dinner at Chris's Steakhouse, Tuesday, September 23rd or Thursday, September 25th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. by calling 314-269-0954. This event will cover income and investment planning and tax-efficient strategies. Seating is limited, so call now at 314-269-0954 to register. FIRA is registered as an investment advisor with the SEC and only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. This is a paid advertisement to KMOX News Radio 1120 by Pine Ridge.
It's summertime, and that heat can play havoc on your plants and trees in your yard. Mark Cox here from my friends at Hanson's Tree Service. Give them a call. They will send a certified arborist to your yard to set up a plant healthcare strategy. They can help you with trees that might have a bug problem or a disease. Plus, they can deliver mulch directly to your driveway in most cases. Just go online to hansonstree.com. or call them at 636-379-1830.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. Divorce touches all areas of your life: your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on.
If you are facing divorce, contact Cordell & Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. If you're a renter, make sure you're protected. Renter's insurance includes options that cover stolen property, personal injury, and living expenses if your place is damaged. Quote Renter's Insurance at progressive.com.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So 2 weeks this Wednesday will be the 2-week, I don't want to say anniversary, that sounds weird, but that will be 2 weeks since Charlie Kirk was shot. And I bring that up because on that Wednesday, we had Bill O'Reilly set to go on the show. He's got a new book out, and Bill joins me from time to time. We also had Melissa Price-Smith scheduled, who is the new St. Louis, well, relatively new St. Louis County prosecutor. She took over for Wesley Bell, opened a cold case from Ellisville that we found interesting and just want to kind of touch base with her. So she was all set to come in on that day, and we canceled. We shifted gears because a lot of things got real weird on the day of the assassination, and we had nonstop coverage. But I bring it up because O'Reilly is going to be with us tomorrow, and I think Melissa is going to be with us in the studio as well tomorrow afternoon, so we kind of get back on track. If you have not heard the news of the day, Jimmy Kimmel is coming back tomorrow night. We don't know what he's going to say, but ABC released a statement just before I hit the air here this afternoon saying that his show will return. You know, the reporting that came out late last week, and the Hollywood Reporter in particular, indicated that they had to pull the show at the last second because Kimmel was going to double down and he was not agreeing to be willing to apologize. Whether he apologizes, I don't know what he does. I think the problem is that we're going to give him probably the biggest audience he's ever had because everyone's going to tune in tomorrow night and they're going to wonder what he's going to say. So unfortunately, he's coming back. Best course would be just to ignore him, but I'm guessing we won't be able to do that.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
You know, just a quick one here today, just because as I was getting ready to go on the air, I heard this quote. I think Fox played it from Van Jones, who's one of the people that gets in the dust-ups with Jennings on CNN. But Van Jones, way opposite side of the political spectrum. I like Van's perspectives every once in a while. He seems to call it accurately. He certainly did after the debate last year. I remember listening to him. But on Charlie Kirk, he said this.
But it was the next day when suddenly my team called back and said, Charlie Kirk was trying to reach you the day before he died. I was like, what? So he was trying to reach you. He had sent you a message. And so I saw the message, and it was a message saying, let's talk about this civilly. Let's come on my show. Let's be gentlemen. And he said, let's disagree agreeably.
Yeah, and that's what Charlie Kirk did. And I'm glad that Van Jones acknowledged it when most of the other people who go on CNN are still calling him a Nazi.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Just one delay left over. That's eastbound on 70. It's jammed up before 170 over to Hanley with a crash in the two right lanes. Otherwise, things have cleaned up nicely. This report is sponsored by the Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000,